Idle Thumbs 82.
Gold thumb.
It's not called
Golden
Gold
Doo-Doo.
What? Doo-doo is spelled like Mountain Dew, but do it twice.
Oh man, like because you do the
Are we
do.
recording? That was fucking gold.
It's November 7th, 2012, and we've been fooled by Dew.
This is Idle Thumbs 82. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman.
And we are joined by our buddy JP LeBreton.
Hello.
Hey, JP.
JP.
Hello.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm well.
Hey!
Thank you.
Good.
How are you guys?
Super good. Did you have a nice Halloween?
I did.
Good.
I did.
Good.
Good.
Good. Good.
Jake.
Took a whole 20 seconds to get that Emperor.
Oh, you gotta get the Emperor in there. When discussing Halloween,
Oh, I'll bet he loves Halloween.
I bet the Emperor just...
he just
Actually, he
likes
probably doesn't because they're like, oh, what are you dressed as? Fucking Emperor. Galactic Empire.
Well, he has to get into like Samuel L. Jackson shocking him or something. I don't know what happened.
What? I mean, what do you... Excuse me?
Oh my God! Don't make me talk about Star Wars here, guys.
Why are you
we're
talking
not
about
talking about
Samuel L. Jackson shocking the Emperor on Halloween?
Shock the Emperor
Remember
is
when
an
that
album.
happened in Star Wars?
Yes.
No.
I don't either.
So you didn't
refuse.
play TF
Anyway, I
I refuse to
Halloween?
get into this lore. This is not. Yeah.
Anyway, there was a time when Samuel L. Jackson shocked the Emperor on Halloween.
Didn't he? I don't remember.
But yeah, no. Halloween came and went, and I failed to play Team Fortress Halloween, and I'm sad.
Do you know what it was?
I've completely forgotten already.
Did they
I read the
do a
comic.
Halloween
The
thing?
comic was great.
They always do a Halloween thing. Oh, it was about a wizard got angry and something.
Wait, what? You didn't play this?
I know!
Yeah.
There's this sort of ongoing Halloween continuity about an angry wizard who summons weird shit, but he died this time, so I think he's haunting some sort of map.
Oh, so he's a booberry now.
He's a booberry.
Yeah.
Yes, a booberry.
Okay. A Merlin became a booberry.
But you, I'm sure, played Diretide, the Dota 2, what's it?
Yeah.
Because Valve's all about fucking Halloween
They love Halloween.
specials.
They're bananas for it. Yeah.
Are there any other holidays that they relate? Like
TF2
every
has
year
some Christmas
reliably-
stuff, but it's
Christmas
not the
stuff,
same.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the
I could see them
not the
doing.
same.
I could see them doing.
Well, it's not because
a
the
Christmas
the
thing.
TF2 Halloween thing. It is always like an event map comes out that actually modifies the mechanics briefly and
Yeah.
has all sorts of weird, crazy shit. Like last year was the thing with Monoculus, the giant eyeball that spawned in one of the maps, which then suddenly just turned it into co-op effectively
Right,
because
yeah, you're stuck.
oh yeah, because when you blow up that eyeball, it turns into a warp to Loot Island, which is a big skull in a sea of purple smoke that gives you a sweet drop.
But this is the only holiday that they regularly observe.
Well,
Yeah.
it's always just
I
been
could see them
TF2 does
doing
Halloween.
something. I could see them doing a Christmas thing.
Oh, there's the Half-Life 2 Halloween special. That doesn't exist, but really should because that would be weird.
Diretide's good. No, Diretide.
Solid. It's great. Wait. No.
Hold on. Well, it's
So what is Diretide?
okay. So
Besides great.
it's hard. I'm going to go ahead and assume that everybody listening already knows what
Dota
a
2
LoMa is,
Yeah.
like how a LoMa is
Lord's
played.
management game?
Yeah. So basically, do you know where the runes spawn? Ish on the river there.
Yeah, basically.
So on your side and on their side in that area
In those little
is
corners?
a bucket of candy, and or like a thing that you would put candy in, like a
Like a
jack o'
bucket.
lantern, a jack o' lantern bucket,
Jack-o'-lantern.
A Janalakin.
a jack o' lantern bucket, and then you
Whack-a-lackin',
put candy in
jack-o'-lantern.
there. But in the neutral creeps that are coming, there are these baby Roshans. And Roshan is the big, giant boss neutral creep who lives in the middle of the map that you kill when you're playing for power-ups. And there are these little baby Roshans who are going trick-or-treating, and if you kill them, they drop candy.
That's a little bit of a twist.
So candy isn't lingo here. It's actual just...
It's actual, like, sweets.
Because it's a Halloween, Halloween-specific variant of the main map.
Gotcha, so then you gather the candy.
It's not just a weird LoMa term that you're not familiar with.
Right.
Run it back
confirming.
You have to run it back to your...
Every other word that Sean is using is just bullshit, though.
You have to run it back to your bucket, and then other people can come in, like the other team can come in and like run counter espionage missions to like take candy from your bucket and run it back to theirs. That's pretty much the mode, except...
so it's an entire game mode. It's not...
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute variant, or 10-minute or 15-minute.
I see.
So whoever has the most candy down to 15 minutes wins. But Big Roshan is also stomping around trick-or-treating, and he will target a new person. Papa Roshan. And he has something like 150,000.
He's got a Papa Roach soundtrack.
Yeah, he's like 150,000 health. He's impossible to kill until like in the middle of the map, really. And then
he's trick or treating. What do you mean he's running around trick or treating? Are there little
wants
stops
candy? No, he comes at you. He finds
at your base or at your guy?
At your guy. So he rolls a random guy, and then it says Roshan's now.
And
going
then he
after
just hunts your lord,
and he comes after you and can kill you.
Aggressive.
He can kill you instantly.
Wow.
Unless you feed him one piece of candy. So you always have to have one on you.
So you have to kill his kids to take candy to give him?
It's weird.
Jesus.
When you walk it all...
Diretide.
Yeah.
It's a really weird idea.
So let me ask you this. Outside,
I have some criticisms.
Sure. But just generally speaking, like outside of the fact that this is Halloween specific, would you want them to integrate alternative game types into Dota 2 just generally, so that you can sometimes just say, you know what, I'm going to kill the kids candy game for 15 minutes.
Do you mean like permanently or like themed around events?
No, it doesn't have to be themed. I just mean like
would you want them to
this
be like
wasn't Halloween. Pretend this is just a trial they
alternate
did
mission type, or like a between round break game type like this or something.
Yeah, I don't have any proof of what another mode that I enjoyed would be.
So since you only have
because this is really novel and it's really fun, but it feels like
not robust.
So much about Dota and LoMas in general is about refining and balancing the mechanics over years of patches.
Yeah.
So it feels like even the Dota that's in beta right now that you're playing is just the product of years of
So you think the
development.
mechanics are so inextricably tied
I just
to
think
that
it's
structure
really hard.
that you wouldn't... Yeah.
Because there are so many lords right now that are just unusable in Diretide. Like, really, there's like 20 lords.
Because they're so tuned for the core game.
Right. So
we were talking about this where you and Nick at work were talking about how you thought that for Halloween they probably should have just, if you're playing that map, just X out all the characters that are worthless.
Yeah, or done. I mean, I think definitely there's like production realities, but I think it'd have been cool to do like, these are like the 20 like Roshan babysitters that you can pick, and they all just take powers from, they just cherry pick powers from all the lords they already have and just make 10 characters.
Just the Halloween only classes.
I think that's really the only.
map.
I don't know how else to balance it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, because I feel like every time I was picking somebody, I was picking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And you get gold in massive amounts in this mode, and you level up really fast. It's all condensed down, so you're making all these rapid gameplay choices, and meanwhile you're just trying to get candy. So it feels very
good.
And then at the end, you win, whoever has the most candy. But then there's a whole nother mode where it's just kill Roshan. So everybody just teams up to murder him, and he has 150,000 health, so it takes like 5 minutes. And,
Weird.
It's funny that Valve is doing the neutral mob in the middle of the map in the middle of a competitive game, because the first time, and we might have talked about this.
That's a thing, bro, in Lord's Management games, though, right?
Is it?
Like
No.
But I mean, not just like one.
Made that up?
I mean, Roshan, so...
Does League of Legends have like a huge
it's like,
epic
it's
boss
all,
in the middle
like
like
all
that?
5 of you can't hurt each other in that mode at the very end of the Diretide.
Right, but Jake, you're just
Roshan.
talking about that concept generally, right?
Yeah, I just mean team versus team, but then just a crazy epic guy shows up in the middle of the map, because the first place that I ever actually encountered that was meaningful was that Pikmin 2 level.
Oh, yeah, right.
Where that huge big stomping alien shows up.
Yeah.
We've probably talked about that. Maybe in terms of
just real
binoculars.
quick to clarify though. Those neutral creeps in the middle, that's not a Valve creation for Dota though, right?
No. But I
think
mean,
so.
the way Roshan works, like Roshan specifically, the way he works in LoMa is he's a neutral creep that has like 10,000 health or something, who lives in a pit, and it's not cooperative getting him. You want your team to go in like under the guy, like go in secretly, kill him, and get out.
Yeah.
Like you don't work with the other team ever in Dota. In the Diretide match, you work with all 10 of you try to take him down, which is kind of cool. But I mean, The thing that's impressive about it is just the level of the production. Like the map, you should log in actually. The map for every match is the Diretide map right now. Just the art is different. The animation on all the new elements is just incredible. Like it's just one of those, just so well polished that I appreciate that so much.
Sure,
it's just really, really nice to look at. But it's so tough. I don't know. I mean, I think they could probably do it. I think you could definitely, and I know there are other modes. Like I think in the original Dota, they had like an all pudge mode where everybody was just like had very custom rules and you were hooking each other, and if your hooks hit, you both exploded and stuff like this. So there was like sort of like rec modes like that. But I don't know. I'd be interested in it for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll play if they do another holiday thing. I'll play it for sure.
Yeah.
Play the Easter mode.
Yeah.
Eggs.
Actually, there are eggs in this one, which is strange.
Halloween eggs.
Yeah, you get Halloween eggs, and then you can hatch
monster
them.
egg.
You can hatch them and turn them into couriers.
Monsters,
Wow.
Yoshis.
I think. Yeah,
That's definite.
they're doing a lot of
Holiday
it's all. Well,
mixing.
so much of their holiday stuff. I feel like at Valve is like
It's just
integrating.
holidays.
Well, so much of the Halloween stuff, at least, is integrating the economy, getting like rare item drops and stuff like that. And like you get rare chests that you can only open with a Halloween key, and you can only open them before November 6th, like tomorrow.
I know with TF2 that
stuff
kind
like
of
that.
works both ways. Like a month before the Halloween thing's going to launch, they put out a call to just the Steam Workshop community saying, it's time, we're looking for Halloween items. So then everyone goes crazy modeling and submitting stupid, goofy, haunted costume shit. And then that stuff is all of what becomes the drops, which I like a lot because it means that during the Halloween promotion, a bunch of really active community members are also making money off of things because that
it's
stuff
really
also
cool.
goes up in the store. So
It's expensive. Like, not like, I don't think, I mean, the price is what the price is, but it's always surprising to me. Like, you can buy a Baby Roshan courier right now and it's $15. I'm like,
So
wow.
crazy.
Like, FTL is cheaper than that. That's a video game. Yeah, it's amazing to me.
But it's hardly a Baby Roshan courier.
The Baby Roshan courier is awesome. It's probably their best animated little courier in the game.
You're paying for that quality.
That and the Smeevil. Yeah.
That and the Smeevil.
Is that?
You know that little dude that I have who runs
an
around?
abbreviation, or
Have you
is
seen
that-
the Smeevil? The Smeevil courier?
I mean, probably, but I wouldn't know it as.
He looks like a sea turtle, a blue sea turtle that chases you around.
Is he called Smeevil? Like, my brain wants to interpret that as an abbreviation of small evil.
Oh, maybe it is.
Oh, he's a small evil.
I'm not aware of the etymology of Smeevil.
I just meant, like, I can imagine. So I don't know
In
enough
the game,
about Dota to
actually,
like.
that's
it begins
to
and
know
ends.
if
That's
with
a
Smeevil
story
is or that.
spoiler in the third act.
It reminds me of like
Smeevil,
in like old Final Fantasy games with the character limit on item and character
right,
names.
right,
and
right.
so it'll be like SM evil, and that's
Yeah.
like
Right.
oh I need the LG evil.
Smeevil deals
That's
49
that's the
damage.
real one. Oh, I got the medieval now.
It's right.
Have you been playing anything that isn't Dota or?
Yeah, I played.
A game
After the discussion last week, I got Hotline Miami.
Oh, yeah,
I played
yeah.
all the way through it this weekend.
What's funny is showing it to Jared the other day. It like totally hooked me. Totally just.
You mean just in the process of demonstrating it?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we were talking about it over dinner, and Jared Emerson Johnson, he's a musician who does all the music for Telltale Games and stuff like that. And he's a friend of Jake's and mine, I guess. But
I guess. I mean,
well, you guys have been friends since you
He's
were
kind of
12.
your friend, let's be honest.
Went to his wedding. Anyway,
Hotline Miami.
So we were talking about it. We're trying to describe to him, more to his wife, about how this is a game you're going to hate. And finally, like, oh, fine, I'll just show it
But
to
she
you.
was like, well, maybe I won't.
And then they just stood behind my computer for like an inordinate amount of time while I just tried to get through this one level. And it hooked while showing it to somebody else. It's sort of like teaching somebody something. You know how like that's when you like learn to really
That's
do
like
something?
what the first several Idle Thumbs Saturday streams were kind of about.
Yeah. But like that sort of it can make a game click with you in a way that it won't if you're alone. You notice that? That's really cool.
Well, it's because you're describing all the things that are happening, and I think it helps you actually
Yeah.
express and contextualize the way that all the interlocking stuff
it's
is
kind of-
occurring.
We don't play enough games.
It's kind of an expert
with
tutorial.
each other.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like how sometimes you'll be working on a game and there will be something that's like really unintuitive and people are like,
Yeah,
well, we
yeah,
can't ship you with the game. So, you know, and
Yeah, it's basically like it's
if
the
you-
rubber ducky thing.
If you do wait, what?
Like the notion in programming of like rubber duckying a problem where you imagine you're just explaining
that's
it
right, yes.
to a rubber ducky, and in
Yeah,
the process of doing that, like
Yep.
I actually had that experience talking with Paul at work, just one of our like back end guys at work, like a few weeks ago, and I was like, this thing doesn't seem like it's working, and like I banged away at it for a bit, and then I went over to his desk, and like in the amount of time between like explaining the problem and finishing explaining the problem, I'm like, oh, and then I just left.
Yeah. That's like a common occurrence in all video game studios.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, though. God, it's a good feeling. Yeah. But I had that feeling with I like this game now because I showed it to them sort of because of its novelty. You know, obviously, like just because visually, it's such a novel.
Bash through doors and throw guys to the ground in a pile
the
of
music.
blood.
We wanted to show Jared the
we wanted to
music.
show Jared because it has that crazy soundtrack,
which we knew he would like. And then about 5 minutes into it, I went, oh, I guess we're going out tonight, aren't we? I could just stay here and play this. Oh, it's Chick's birthday. I guess I should go. But no, so all the way through,
you completed it, so you hate it.
I did. Yeah, I did like it overall. It was. I have mixed feelings about it in some ways, but it definitely, like, on balance, my impression of it is positive. The thing that obviously was most successful about it, I think you guys kind of already got to this last week, but is just how strong atmospherically it is, like grossly so. You know, it makes me feel like how I feel now when we're in the Idle Thumbs office recording a podcast with windows and door closed for too long.
on cocaine?
Yeah.
We're going to start hearing that music, and then you'll blink and we'll be wearing animal masks.
Bloody and dead or wearing animal masks.
Or all of the above.
The thing that I kind of bothered me about it the more I played it was that it felt like one more of these games that I would kind of put like Spec Ops: The Line into this category.
It's a gotcha game a little bit.
Yeah, but without very much substance underneath it. Like it feels like the atmosphere is like all about making you question what's going on and like wonder what is going on under the surface of this crazy thing and like this fucked up kind of presentation of which is all really effective. Like that's really good.
This sort of cyclonic waking up every day with the
just
same
like
music.
there's just nothing. It's the same as like every other game where it's like you're playing a video game. Not like that. That's not the twist, but like it feels like that to me, you know, where it's just this very kind of pat message about stuff's just fucked up, you know, but it reminds me of, I started to say this to JP earlier today and then I cut myself off because of cast burning, but like, it reminds me of seeing a movie by certain directors like Terry Gilliam or something, who I like a lot. I like him a lot, but I always, with so many of his films, I'm like, this guy's so strong in so many ways, but I wish that there was someone, like, I wish he was working with a screenwriter that would actually have more substance underneath the actual crazy directing he's doing. Like, I feel like his movies often end up just being ultimately, like, a lot of style and, like, atmosphere and crazy shit. But, like, there's not really that much going on that bears much scrutiny, you know? Like, and that's kind of how I feel about this game, where it just oozes style throughout, but, like, it's not really saying anything, which is fine. Like, a lot of games aren't saying anything, except that all of the surface layer of this game seems built to make you feel like there's something going on.
Well, it feels like it's building towards something.
And in a lot of Terry Gilliam's films, there's like a visual, even if the actual where the story goes and what the characters are saying as it goes there, like there's usually this kind of visual catharsis, you know. Whereas in this game, there's actually not that. Like the game does not, in fact, crumble into pixelated acid trip. It doesn't crumble further.
Right.
Like that's really what I was hoping for. Just even in like the non-storytelling journey of the game, is that it would just get more and more degraded and weird, and then eventually it would just dissolve into just pure noise basically, and that would have been the most fitting thing, and it would have, and then it just the thing is left with a whole bunch of open threads where it's like, I don't know, man. You killed a bunch of people. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't really like pick a direction that I would have taken it off the top of my head.
No, I can't. But
it did the opposite of what I feel like it kind of gut of what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, and I just to clarify real quick, I don't mean I think the game should have like spelled out a meaning.
No, it spelled it out too much.
Like, yeah,
actually, if you follow it all the way through,
like I actually played through the entire game all the way through a second time to like collect all the puzzle pieces, which sucked, by the way. That's a garbage thing to make someone do, to like do all the things.
Get the real ending,
just
quote
pixel
unquote.
hunt for every single one of these levels to find a little pixel that you then use to like
Did you
put
use
a word
like
jumble
a FAQ?
together. I did for some of them, because I just didn't want to.
Did you wear an owl mask?
I did. I wore the owl mask for the entire game all the way through, but I didn't know that until after I already beat the game. Anyway, whatever. So I went through and I did the whole thing, and the new ending you unlock is so dumb. It's so like just. Ugh, it was just so
I heard that on the
stupid.
forums. People who played it through once and were like, okay, that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then played it through a second time and were like, oh, why did I get all those puzzle pieces?
Yeah, like if none of those things were in the game, none of the puzzle things at all, I think it would actually be a much better game.
Funny.
Both for the mechanical reasons of just there's not really anything interesting about playing it through for the puzzle pieces. And then also the thing you get is
it's disappointing.
Meaningless. Like, it's just not interesting.
Maybe that's the meaning in and of itself.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I mean, I wonder why you do that. I wonder why? Because making games sucks. It's so hard. Like, why put more stuff in? If you don't have a
the
cool reason to
really
do it?
awesome example of that was Fez, like that you talked about a few episodes back, where you play the entire game and then you get the ability to
understand.
There's another, it
kind
of opens up.
This seems like a very surface level,
and
wholly different, but like on paper sounds the same.
Even in Fez, it can get pretty old after a while.
Sure,
but like,
you think it was worth it, right?
It seems like at the beginning of Fez, when you first get to that mode, it is just you're seeing the game in a completely different
light.
light.
That stuff was really cool.
They were either trying to give you an opportunity to make the piece of chewing gum last longer, or they actually thought a lot more of the story payoff that you would get for doing all of that than
was going to resonate more.
Or it's the kind of thing that sometimes it's just part of the plan from very early on, and then you just go through supporting it, and you don't quite interrogate it as much as you should.
Well,
I did really enjoy the actual playing of the game.
Well, you did play it through 2 times. It sounds like so.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get through?
About 5 hours.
Okay.
The first time.
Yeah.
And the second time.
Even after hearing mixed stuff from you right now, I'm probably going to play through it the rest of the way.
It was a good length, right? Like, it was cool. And actually, the thing that it does after you think you beat the game is really cool. Like,
okay,
this is my frustration with the game is how incredibly strong the mechanical choices and how the mechanics inform the atmosphere. All that stuff's really good.
Yeah.
I just it points so strongly at there being more under the surface than there isn't.
I gotcha.
think.
Yeah, and the mechanical progression is nice. I had a weird journey with this one because I don't know. Like, when I first played it, it actually felt like the violence in it, which is just the thing that you just get blasted in the face with it, even if you just watch the trailer or something.
Yeah, especially I would say more so if you just watch the
trailer,
which is why I was originally skeptical.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like Doom in that regard, where you see the in your face kind of the attitude, if you will, and then
you see the Clinton era attitude.
Yeah. Well, that's Doom.
Like good old Clinton era attitude.
But yeah. And then you have to kind of penetrate it and then realize, well, this is an extremely solidly put together game mechanically, and then ultimately there's this kind of emptiness because Doom Doom is a huge game for me, obviously, but then it's like it is still like, I don't know, there's nothing there in the fiction basically, and I don't know, for its time, Doom had fantastic atmosphere. You're just immersed in it, and
that's almost all I remember of Doom.
It's kind of the same. It's kind of a similar feeling.
Just creeping through those goddamn hallways, and you hear a growl, and you're like, "Oh, this is gonna suck."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's never like. I don't remember feeling like a badass playing Doom, even though that's how it was all marketed, and that's what your mom told you couldn't play.
Yeah, I felt like a baby.
I don't think. Doom actually didn't push very hard on the "you're a badass Marine." Like they showed you. They showed you the image.
You're gonna die.
Well, no,
right? Yeah.
But the splash screen on the box art is a guy standing on top of a pile of aliens machine gunning them in the face.
Yeah, but that's what every game box looks like.
Right. They just showed you Doom because it's like, here,
the marketing is always different than the experience.
Yeah, but I think the actual, outside of the game box though, I do think the actual marketing, like the actual messaging, like literal words used to promote Doom were much more about how just totally fucked up and overwhelming it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, within the community, I think the cultural cachet of Doom for a mom in 1997 is like, I can't let my kids go near that game. You know what I mean? When honestly, so much of it is just being alone in a dark, scary place, I feel like, and not doing obscene amounts of violence.
Yeah. And
like Hotline Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Doom of our time.
But Hotline Miami, my first impression was like, okay, mechanically it's solid and I'm hooked. Like, it's an example of like how you make a game addictive without being coercive.
Right.
Because I don't feel like there's anything in that game that's like, oh, you want to keep playing, right? It's like, no, it just makes it trivially easy.
No, this has really great flow. The flow is so good.
And I could walk away at any time, but it's just sort of that,
it's exactly how I felt playing Super Meat Boy, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very similar to Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
Yeah, totally,
including the instant death and the music not restarting and all that stuff.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. They could have kept the blood around, I guess, and that would have. Anyway, so the violence in it,
that would have been interesting. Actually.
Well,
that would have meant a lot of different things for the fiction.
That's what I mean. It would have been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they had gone down,
come back and the room's just been cleared out, but there's stains everywhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah,
It's so funny. That's one of those very specific choices that once you make it like. everything just goes 90 degrees that way.
Yeah. And I wish they had been a little bit more exploratory with like how their atmosphere was intersecting with their mechanics. But that's
really? Because I completely disagree.
I say that about every game.
Because I felt like every time I would complete a level, I would go through these levels that would take me a long time to figure out the way I wanted to get through. I would go through just being devastatingly violent. I'd get all the way to the end, and then the smartest thing they do is they make you walk out. Mm-hmm. And you walk.
That's always really good.
It's so good. And I think that is a perfect example of just on taking the mechanics at face value and re-representing to you everything that you just accomplished in like air quotes. This bodies. It's just that quiet walk out of the building is always so. That's my most memorable moment and everything.
Well, how is that not like exploring how the mechanics and the aesthetics overlap?
Well, I mean, I think
because it is like that's basically something that mechanically you wouldn't really have a reason to do that.
No, I think
you would just be like mission complete.
No, Sean's disagreement was that he thinks they are. You were saying you wish they'd done more, and he's saying, he thinks they did successfully.
I think they did some great things. I think they could have just gone further with it, especially considering like the story stuff, which I count as part of like the aesthetic layer. You know, because I don't know, just the way that it wraps back in. It's like, yep, you're killing guys, and killing guys is neutral to good. I guess I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, there's really only a binary of success, which is completed level.
Yeah. Although except that they grade you on a really specific scale.
It's really weird.
And flexibility.
It's so funny on like modern games where there is like it seems to be like again like there's a written story in this and there's so much going on in just the game side of it when it gives me that score rundown.
The thing is though,
B-. I'm
just like I actually think it's farcical. I don't actually think it's real.
To me,
you know what I mean? I'm just like that could be anything.
I think it is real and also farcical.
Yeah. That's another Doom connection for me is because like Doom did away with Wolfenstein 3D's score, but it did still keep like the kill percentages and the secret percentages and all that kind of stuff. And Doom just did that because it was coming out of an era where games had scores.
I feel like,
whereas here, like no, I feel like it was absolutely it was basically like. It was one of the few, like, pointing to the distancing effect of the violence.
To me, it wasn't entirely what it was doing, though. And I'm admittedly not very far. I'm only still a few missions into the game. But the fact that it started with you in this room with these, like, council of masked guys who seemed to know way more about me than I knew about myself. And then I completed these missions, and then I was rated on my job performance, effectively. Like, it added to the mystique of what was going on to me, where I didn't know... I mean, it was obviously a video game bullshit thing, but I didn't know. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
I think that's what we mean by farcical, though, right? Is that it's kind of, I mean, that implicitly, like,
right?
If you're saying that is not actually a sort of game UI thing, but actually a fictional conceit of,
but just the way it was. I'm probably saying the same exact thing that you are, but I don't know. Like, it is just a bullshit arcade screen sequence, but the rest of the aesthetic of this game is also so just fucking bananas that it didn't.
The thing that was funniest to me about that screen is that I've played in the last few weeks, obviously because we talked about them a bunch, Dishonored and Mark of the Ninja, and those are both games where I feel like the way I play the game is born out of conscious intent. So I know when I approach a level in Dishonored, it is paramount for me, or the same with actually Mark of the Ninja. It is paramount for me personally that I'm not going to kill anyone, and that's just like that's a choice I've made.
It's your own personal additional objective,
right? And then, but I go into Hotline Miami. This is something that I think is really successful about the game. I can't afford to have intent in that game, not conscious intent. Yeah. Like the game is obviously
you will just be fucking destroyed if you try to do anything other than just wreck everything.
Yeah, in any way you can. Like it's the most. It is that game enforces pragmatism in a really aggressive way, which I think is really interesting and impressive. And like in some games, it's not that interesting. Like so a lot of first-person shooters are like that, in that your only choice is just to shoot all the guys with whatever you have. But it's not interesting. Like I feel like I'm backed into a corner in that way in Hotline Miami, whereas if I play most typical first-person shooters, it's just what the game is. And in Hotline Miami, I'm like, oh fuck, I feel like this game is the kind of game that would theoretically allow me to be very consciously expressive, but I don't have the space between cycles in my brain.
Yeah, the fact that you just there are situations where to get by at all, you have to incapacitate a guy, but you know it's only going to last for half a second until you get past the doorway, at which point you pick up a gun and turn back around and blow the fucker away, or you're done.
Right, and then
but it gives you that
throw
glimmer.
that gun at a different guy, and then choke out the guy on the ground.
Right.
Then run into the other guy.
But yeah, it always gives you that little glint of like, okay, I didn't just kill that guy, I incapacitated him, and then I was able to accomplish something. But it was only
right. He's going to be dead set on killing you. Yeah. It's and I guess that's
thanks, Jake.
And I guess that's intentional. I guess that's something that they looked at. I mean, I always have to ask, like, as a designer who's trying to figure this stuff out for myself, like, what kind of forethought would they what did their path of reasoning look like to get to that point? And they could have just decided up front, like, well, you have to kill everybody, and so let's just make it so that everybody.
Yeah, but it's not just that you have to kill everybody.
But,
it's the pace at which the game proceeds. Because even if you want to kill everybody, my original intention when I was going to the game was I'm not going to fire any guns. I'll stab a guy, like I'll slit his throat, like I'll choke him out or whatever. Like I know I'm gonna have to kill these guys, but just out of personal
because it's cool.
Just set a challenge for myself. I'm like I'm not gonna fire any triggers.
Right.
You can't I just couldn't stick with it. It was impossible. Like it wasn't a matter of kill everyone or don't kill everyone. It was a matter of like
it's theoretically
any decision
possible,
I can make. Well, I know it's theoretically possible, and I'm sure, and it would be interesting to see people do that because I'm sure you could, and it would be interesting. But my point is that without raising myself to like extreme level of ultra familiarity with every level layout and enemy behavior and so on, like just playing the game, generally speaking, I didn't feel like I had room to make any of those choices, and I felt pressured in a way that was really interesting to me. And that's not even playing something like Mark of the Ninja or Dishonored on like a hard difficulty level. I still feel like those games give me breathing room in a way that Hotline Miami just doesn't. And I thought it was really effective.
Yeah, it's more old school in that way, and also in the way that Super Meat Boy is. Yeah. But the violence, I don't know. The violence around it is almost more interesting to it because that was sort of the actual act of playing the game. We're all so completely desensitized that it's like, yep, oh wow, it's a super violent game, and that you're turned off by that at first, but then you get into it and find that it's mechanically satisfying. But I think I've kind of gone from saying like. Yeah, what I was saying earlier about Doom is that like the violence in Hotline Miami felt kind of aesthetically fresh in a way that not violence in games hasn't felt fresh since like Doom and Syndicate, I would say, is the other one. Because those were both games that people said like they specifically described the violence as vicious. Syndicate like probably more so than any other because it was just like it was and you had this distance to it, and it was just clearly this ruthless amoral universe. And I don't know, and I felt like, oh yeah, that's actually, I don't know, I think that was definitely part of that atmosphere that becomes this excellent thing that they weave in Hotline Miami. But I don't know, like I think I came past that because that's the first 20 years of video game playing me, and now like the second 20 years is like, yeah, but I don't know, like I'm kind of. I guess like so the background for this is like
games.
Yes.
Video games.
A video game?
There was I'm sorry.
It's also really fucking hot in here. Yeah. We can get to a point. We can get to a point and take a break. It's really hot.
I mean, JP, you made it just to quickly mention something JP said, just to, I guess, fill in for him a little bit. Like yesterday we were talking, you made the interesting point that like Hotline Miami would be especially interesting if it was the exact same game it was, but existed in a world in which violence was not the de facto interaction in games.
Yeah. What if it was that game that's really violent? And I think it would be an excellent specimen as such. Unfortunately, we live in the mirror universe of that, in which all games are completely violent, and violence is one of the least interesting things that you can do in a game now. And so it manages to be exceptional by just barely sticking the peak of its fin above the tide.
Right.
What's funny is
that's sort of a dim accomplishment, honestly. And it got me thinking about this whole like, I don't know, like we really need to get past violent games and violent mechanics, like as designers, like first and foremost, but also like as critics, as like the shit that we're talking about, like we've just lavished a lot of interesting, thought and interpretation on this game that is trying to do some interesting things, but it's mostly doing stuff in the mechanical space and in like the the aesthetic, shell kind of thing. But I don't know, like, yeah, we're just like, we've been there before, and the fact that it's a little bit more, exotic and weird, and that they found like one tiny little corner of the aesthetic territory to mine out. Like, I don't know.
No, totally.
my old boss at 2K, Zach McClendon, said that violent game mechanics are the fossil fuels of game design, and that's like, we're absolutely reaching.
Oh, so you mean delicious?
Well, no. Is that like, yeah?
Interesting reaction to fossil fuels.
Oh, man.
Fossil fuels are delicious.
They're
I guess
best.
they're dinosaurs and stuff.
Did you ever smell gasoline when you gas up your car?
Some people like the smell of gasoline. I guess.
Yeah.
I find it disgusting.
It's the best.
But yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess I'm.
No, but it's funny because I was thinking the antithesis of the hypothetical, like putting out in a sea of violent games, putting out the non-violent game,
Proteus or something.
Even
there's a whole okay,
like aggressively non-violent would be the antithesis.
Proteus is aggressively non-violent.
Sure, yeah. But like,
I don't know. It sucks because I don't feel like there's like it's the world in which you're describing where you could put out Hotline Miami and it's just that violent game is very interesting, and I don't know how we get to
we get there.
I don't think you get there.
I don't think you get there, but I don't even know how you get halfway there.
Well, yeah. Or how do we kind of like meet that? Yeah.
Because even if we ever get there, that world is still the world in which all the games used to be violent.
Right.
You can't ever.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. The genie isn't going back in its bottle. Like there are people.
He might.
There is increasingly
that genie might put that
because that's the thing. Okay, well, like like
cool in that bottle.
Chris and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was completely unsuccessful in like pointing towards this thing that this idea of like nonviolent game mechanics. It's just absurd that like that it's difficult to talk about, and that you're pointing to this thing, and you're like, no, I swear it exists. I swear I saw it. It's crazy because it just shows like how fucking like ruthlessly single-minded we are as an industry, and how much damage the commercial side of the commercial path of least resistance has done to us as creative people. Because
I'll tell you though, I'm working.
Look at all the other, and we are all working on games where violence is not like the primary mechanic.
Yeah, but I'm so
where
glad
it's like
about. It's so nice to have that in there. Actually,
you mean because for years you worked at a studio where there was no.
It was not even a refreshing thing. It's just sort of like violence can be a part of like. If it's not mechanically implemented, if it's not part of your core mechanics, but it's part of your sort of like the milieu of things that can happen inside of your game world, then it gets really interesting. I think then it actually gets cool. Like I don't think it's like don't write off violence, but just don't make it the thing.
Because like I'm just sick of like scratching around in the bottom of the can and finding things like Hotline Miami that are really good for what they are, But just like trying to be,
Miami.
but like trying to be like,
No, I hear you.
But
Totally.
just trying to be like, well, man, are video games ever going to be anything more than what they are? Like, cause like a really nicely done, like violent, like lo-fi weird trip of a game is awesome, but it's not like, that's not helping us bridge over to that other alternate universe. And like,
I don't actually know if I agree with that.
I don't know if I agree
because
with that
it's Hotline Miami. The way that it does all the stuff that it does actually makes me notice that those things are happening, and I think
true.
that is important.
Yeah,
that is
like,
fully notable to me.
Yeah, but like the past few, like I don't know, we're just drowning in games that are like full of self-awareness and self-loathing about, oh, it's so violent. Why did you kill those guys?
Yeah, but that's just
because
like
we told you to kill those guys.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, we need to get over that really quickly because I'm sick of it. Like and BioShock did that.
I just feel like I don't know.
It's just like it's kind of a gimmick, honestly. It's kind of a gimmick where
we're just very
like,
different. Because I don't concern myself with like there was there's a designer at Telltale, like a designer writer guy who's brand new who played Hotline Miami. He was like, got some ideas coming out of Hotline Miami for this next thing we're working on at Telltale, and I went like, good. Like it was like. You know what I mean? I always feel like it's a process. Like, I don't know. I'm also very hopelessly optimistic about it. I also just think because of the games that are out there doesn't mean you can't just make the thing that you want to make anyway.
Well, yeah. And I think that's actually, I think that's happening right now. I know.
Yeah, Steve.
I've got multiple friends who are working on projects, and, I've had like independent projects and stuff like that are, focused on nonviolent, that are just focused around other kinds of mechanics. like I don't even want to say nonviolent because that makes it sound like it's anti. And I think for nonviolent mechanics to be a thing, they need to be defined in terms of what they are, rather than in terms of what they aren't, of course. And yeah, like I think I don't know. I don't know if I'm optimistic.
It's going to be okay
because everybody just defaults back to this crap that they were playing like 20 years ago. And
it's so funny because I've never had the opportunity to make a game like that. So it's like I live in a completely different universe. Yeah, or like I've never even asking for the opportunity. Hey, can we actually?
You're in a very rarefied slice of the game industry then, because if you haven't worked on a game that's like the games that you were playing when you grew up. Just wait, you will.
Oh, we are doing that.
Just wait, you will, and then it will be true. And then it will be successful, and then you'll be like, well, okay, am I done now? No, I'm not. God, what? I don't know.
Cave is going to be great, dude. Don't worry.
No, none of this angst is really about the cave at all, because I don't know. The cave is like it's a puzzle game, and that's cool, and I don't know. I've loved working on it. It's I hope it'll be good. So no, it's a
sadomasochistic shooter you guys have in secret development.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it's not about anything about my day job. Honestly, it's just about like my position and everybody's within the future of the medium. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So yeah, that's my
I hear you. It's gonna be okay.
That's my it got too hot in here rant, because you
guys want to take a break? It is super hot. It's really hot. You guys want to take a break? Mm-hmm. Can we go outside for our break? I know it's a rare thing.
No.
Please.
You do whatever you want. It's your break.
Okay. You know what? Can I be perfectly honest? This is not podcast material, but when Master Chief gets tackled by that guy in the trailer and that burning skull face comes out of the mask?
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
What? I have no...
No, is that not podcast material?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't think that's cool?
That was fine.
I don't know. When I first saw that, I was like, sick.
So
wait, what? I can't tell if you're making this up.
No, I'm dead serious.
So
okay, so Halo is running, and like a Covenant guy gets him, and he punches him in the face, and he takes his gun, and he smashes him with it, and then he runs.
Who took the gun and smashed?
Halo
took the gun and smashed Covenant.
No, right. Halo's gun was taken. He
takes his gun and then he shoots the next guy, and then I think he like breaks another dude's face. It's a lot of combat and jumping, and then
it's like Combat Evolved.
And then he kills
like
another guy. Yeah,
okay.
It's rendered.
Okay.
He kills another guy and then gets jumped by a Covenant you think is dead, and it's got him down on the ground. That's pinning him, and then it like does the sort of like alien thing where it like puts its face really intimidatingly right up against his face. So
like
Halo,
aliens, yeah,
and then his Covenant mask rips off, and there's a fucking flaming skull in there,
and then you're like,
and then it's sort of like.
Is that supposed to be taken literally, or is it supposed to be a crazy metaphysical thing?
I think it's taken literally, but then it like does like a...
You didn't know there's skulls in there?
Flaming skulls in their face?
It's fucking cool.
They were under there the whole time.
Are you saying it's cool, like, seriously?
No, I really think it's actually cool.
Because it looks cool, or because it suggests... Like, I can't figure...
Both.
Okay.
It sounds like...
All I'm saying is it's the first time in the entire...
This doesn't sound like a Sean Vanneman cool thing.
No, but I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it lends a moment of specificity to the character design that in 4 iterations they have never had. It's just like generic alien, generic marine,
like
generic
skull. I mean, I don't know. The picture it paints
unexpected. It was an unexpected turn. We'll watch it at the break. We'll watch the trailer at the break.
But it's like a stupid thing coming out of a stupider thing, right?
Right, but if you're not expecting the stupid thing, it's cool. Look, I can teach you.
I think you have a point there.
All right, we'll watch it.
No one expected a flaming skull to come out of that guy's fucking face.
You're going to now, so you won't think it is as cool as I do.
So I'm going to expect a flaming skull to come out of every guy's face now.
I guess if having played I've played hundreds probably of hours of Halo, combined in my life.
Me too. I played a lot of Halo 3.
And never before has a flaming skull come out of a face.
Right.
You found skulls, though.
They're really playing on some familiarity
so I haven't seen this trailer, right? So
maybe that's what they're from. Maybe it's the skulls that you find in that guy's face.
Skulls have been part of the milieu of Halo.
The new Tony Hawk had the VHS cassette on fire come out of Tony Hawk's face.
But I can see where you're coming from in the sense that, like, if I had never played Halo before, that would probably not be surprising, right? But
like
having fully internalized those alien faces for like a million hours,
and the human fiery skull comes out. Interesting.
Wait, it's a human fiery skull?
Yeah, totally, totes.
That's too much. There's too many ideas.
You know what? I don't want to write story.
I'm not going to work here anymore.
But it might not be a human skull, but it has human things about it.
I'm just off in a distant place now where people's faces are tearing apart and just floating letters spelling skate are coming out of them.
All right, well, we're going to watch this at the break. This is going to be the break, I guess, what we're talking about now. And then, because I don't know where else we're going to put it, but like, then we can watch this.
We're doing a new opening for Out of Time. There's no dateline, no
We only talk about flaming skulls coming out of an alien face.
It is legitimately cool.
I believe you.
The problem is, the thing that's really disappointing is I watched it and then I went like, that's not going to be in the game.
It's just some dream that Halo had.
Maybe, that's the thing. No, you make a good point.
Whoa, guys, that was crazy.
No. So Master Chief in the last shot of the whatever the advertisement. No, he's like bound.
Like on a cross? You have your hands out like he's on a cross.
Like he's like bound.
Oh, okay. So this is like...
It does like a weird glitchy... like.
So they're pretty heavily shooting for like symbolism shit here. Like this
dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Perhaps the flaming skull is Master Chief himself.
By the way,
it's like Darth Vader face inside of...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No. Like
when Luke
represents the crown of thorns.
So he's got like a harmonica holder in there?
God, that's the best
maybe
fucking
the alien,
YouTube video.
maybe that's meant to convey that Master Chief, deep inside, is going to turn into an alien.
Wait, why would he turn into an alien, not a flaming skull?
Maybe his actual skull's flaming, so when he sees the one inside the alien face, that's him, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to be an alien."
That's what I was trying to say earlier. I'm pretty sure that face is the equivalent of... It's like Luke Skywalker seeing his face inside of Darth Vader's mask in the cave when he remembers his failure at the cave.
Oh, in the cave?
In the cave. From Double Fine Productions, yes.
Oh, you mean like Play-Doh?
Right.
Don't spoil one of our levels, you know?
Oh, fuck, I spoiled the alien flaming head Darth Vader face level.
Oh, you spoiled the Halo level, you guys call it. Shorthand. God. Yeah, does the cave have like a Halo level? It's like a pre-order exclusive?
Well, I can't really... I mean, no comment. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. But we think you'll be pleased.
You might be pleasantly
if you're fans of Flaming Skulls or or Halo,
then yes.
Or flavor sprayed chips.
You won't not be enjoying your time in the cave.
But yeah.
Oh, is that enough? Are we done with this now? Guy, shoots that guy, run. Every time.
Yep.
Cool. You don't think that's that's cool? Guys,
what's gonna be
the mask opens when he screams.
Hear me out. He's a Skeletor in there.
Get this. He looks like an alien in there.
Wait, hold on.
Whoa, wait, no.
Wait, an alien comes out of...
Wait, hold on. I'll come back. Guys, no, sorry. Yesterday I thought it was an alien.
Never mind, scratch that.
Flaming skull inside that alien head.
No, the human skull, though. It's a human skull.
Ostensibly.
Now
I mean, it could...
See, it is questionable.
It could be,
can we call it a humanoid skull?
And we're back.
Are we?
We're awake. Similar to an ancient evil that's also awake.
We all watched the Ancient Evil Awakens trailer.
So good.
A skull popped out of a fucking alien face.
Unexpectedly so.
As advertised.
By Sean. Yeah.
And Halo.
Does what it says. Does what it says on the tin.
The tin says a flaming skull will emerge from me.
What I love, the thing is, it's so good, is that I've ignored everything. I know there was all the Mountain Dew stuff and all the other stuff that was on Twitter this week.
It's hard to ignore when it's in the ad word that pops up underneath the video. That must be mentioned. We watched a flaming head pop out of an alien face, and then an ad popped up underneath that said, "Get double XP with Doritos and Mountain Dew." So that I was pleased.
That's what it's really all about.
Right.
That skull's only popping out of that guy's face so that Doritos...
Well, that's not actually flame. That's fucking nacho cheesier dust.
That's a hard cuts away from that shot in the trailer, but in the actual game, that skull then chugs a dew and gets double XP.
Right, yeah.
And then he just kicks Master Chief's ass. It's brutal.
They're teasing you with the prospect
so much
of it.
XP.
They're like, what's going to happen here? Whoever has dew in this situation...
Whoever has the most XP is going to win.
Yeah. And therefore
win the fight.
Presumably
by extension.
Presumably that Skeletor's XP.
Now, like all microtransaction-based things, players who do not wish to participate can still compete. They just have to work twice as hard. Master Chief could have just
What's funny is there is a 0.0000. Wait, put a point somewhere before all those zeros. 1%
after all the zeros.
All right, they would just be useless.
0.00001 million.
0.0 chance. There's no way I buy this game. There's no way. 0. Not gonna buy this game.
You're definitely gonna be fucking king of the hill at the local 7-Eleven.
Of course.
Yeah, you've got fooled by Do on your phone. You're just not buying Halo 4.
No. I've experienced everything I need to in the Halo 4 universe.
I wonder if that app, you can press a button in it and a skull pops out of its face.
You can't. No.
Like at will.
No.
That's when it crashes.
I would consider downloading that app.
I've pressed all the buttons. That doesn't happen.
If the UI all just hinges away and it just...
Well, I do want... I mean, here's the thing. If somebody ends up telling me that skulls pop out of those alien heads... while playing, if even though at the bottom of that trailer,
heads are hinged to reveal their inner skull,
right,
so like Jar Jar tongue candy, basically.
Look, yes, but if at the bottom of that trailer it said this is pre-rendered and not indicative of gameplay footage, disappointing.
The twist is.
But if there was a smaller text that said, "But the heads do pop out of skulls," skulls do pop out of heads. Excuse me.
I'd probably.
Well, heads also pop out of
I'd
those
probably buy
skulls.
the game.
It's actually like a Russian nesting doll of heads and
I'd
skulls.
probably buy the game.
It's the flaming skull
What if the game
Matryoshka.
checks your save data from other Halos to see how many skulls you found, and then however many of that you have to fight that many skulls that come out of alien heads? So actually,
Or just that's how many skull heads you see. Period. That's it. Like if you found 5 skulls. 5
you only
flaming
have 5
skulls
chances over the course of the entire game
to observe this event.
No, that's too stressful.
To just witness it.
If you do a lot of if you kill a lot of guys with a sniper rifle from far away, a fucking skull might be popping out of that guy's head and it might be on fire, but you'll not know because you're so far away with the sniper rifle. So it really hurts you to get up close to an alien face.
I don't
where
think
a skull
it pops
comes
out as by virtue of taking damage. It seems like that's they're finishing them.
That's what I'm saying, though. So that guy knows if you have a skull, and then it really wants the skull that you have because it's from. Its
so it
own,
wants to replenish its supply of skulls with Halo's
the actual.
skull?
I think it's trying to.
That sounds like a game.
I don't think Master Chief carries around the skulls.
No, they just know
He does in multiplayer.
But you have to carry it in your
He's
hand.
got like
the skull
so many
around.
of them in his freaking wallet.
No, but in multiplayer, there's only one skull, and everybody wants it. And maybe that was just foreshadowing.
Maybe they ripped it out of this guy's face. Maybe that's what that cutscene. The next shot is actually Master Chief just going slam. His hand just grabs that and
then
just slowly fucking twists his skull out of his face.
He runs away carrying out.
Sorry, that laugh was out of control. The idea that that CG trailer has
just
all the
20
other
seconds.
Master Chiefs fucking chasing after him after he dramatically tears that skull out of that guy's face.
That trailer is actually just 12 seconds of a skull, like oddball multiplayer match mode in Halo 4.
But it starts by just step one is
that was their target gameplay footage.
Yeah, you first have to, with just your Master Chief glove fist, rip the skull out. You have to wait until that alien does that one move, and then in a weird QTE moment, pop the skull out of his face, which then you light up in everyone else's game, and they fucking know that you found that skull.
Yeah. Man, maybe I will buy Halo 4.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to play multi?
Yeah. You want to play that crazy
Definitely oddball.
flaming skull oddball mode?
Doritos Oddball, I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Also,
sorry, it's Oddball powered by Doritos. That's the full name. Like sponsored achievements, the best.
Whenever it's powered by, I just imagine somebody like removing a bag of Doritos from the power source and the whole game.
There's just a hovering Doritos.
Yeah,
I think we're playing into the hands of these advertisers.
Well, they've done well.
They really want to eat Doritos.
They spent all that money. They got to get something out of it.
The reason it took me so long to think of oddball, like the reason I waited like 10 seconds in a sense, is because I realized I played so many hours of Halo multiplayer with my friends, especially Halo 1 and 2, or pretty much entirely Halo 1 and 2, and we never played Slayer. We only ever played objective modes because we thought they were so much fun. And Halo, I think, does that better than most shooters. And we played oddball so much. I still prefer the Halo objective ones more, just personally. But we never called it oddball. We just called it skull. Like, we went years just referring to a core part of Halo for us as skull. So clearly something was... And not only that, but if you go back to, like, Marathon... There was skull mode in that as well.
So I really shouldn't have been so surprised.
Yeah, you probably picked it up.
This has been seeded
skull
for
is in
decades.
fact Chris's number one word associated with Halo. So you're like, there's a skull in that trailer. He said, they were probably playing skull.
That's the ultimate Halo fan wank is to tie it into Marathon, right?
Yeah, well, today I was looking at those old emails from 1999 that Bungie sent out as Cortana to some guy in like the Halo fan community or whatever.
Yeah.
Like where they were making all these weird marathon allusions before people even knew what Halo was.
Yeah.
I think. It's weird. Bungie, it's weird that like Bungie used to be one of those weird, super like small, super fan facing communities that was really like all that stuff was really,
and they were very focused on their fiction. You know, they were
it actually reminds me of where Valve is now, where Bungie was at that point, like early internet, because Bungie was for
Valve was just the ridiculously massive successful version.
Yeah, but I mean, not that Bungie isn't or wasn't.
No, they were successful,
but I mean, within Bungie's community, they were that sort of weird stoic face that would just occasionally churn out games, but then over time it suddenly turned into this weird meta conversation with their community, and Valve did that exact same thing where it was just this gray slab with a guy's face on it with a spigot that occasionally every 10 years would give you an amazing game, but now it's just wacky fucking Halloween events all over the place and skulls everywhere.
Skulls popping out of faces. It's just weird.
Yeah. Man, I was going to talk about something.
A video game, maybe. Chris is going to talk about a video game.
Oh, yeah, I beat XCOM on just normal mode this weekend because I wanted to...
Finally.
Yeah, or maybe it wasn't this weekend. Maybe it was last week. I can't remember. But anyway, I wanted to play through the whole game because I had been doing it on Iron Man, or on Classic Iron Man, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, and I switched... Classic Iron Man. And I switched over to normal because I wanted to actually, like...
You thought maybe winning a video game for once would be good?
Well, I wanted to see like the full range of things that happen over the course of the game, and I did. And the story goes to a really weird, goofy place that I think is kind of lame. But the actual like scream you get at the end is one of my favorite endings of any game ever, and it's not a narrative thing, so I don't mind spoiling it. Where it just shows you like a million stats from your playthrough, like. Really basic stuff like how many people died, how many missions you played, like how many turns until you built your first satellite, like how many countries, like just all of these really, they just drill, it goes page after page after page, and I kept thinking it was done, then there was another page of just these really deep dive statistics, and then it would show you the worldwide average from everybody who's finished the game. And it was so fascinating to me. Like that was such a more interesting thing to reflect on at the end of a mechanics-driven game than like just a big cutscene about some story that you probably don't care about. It was really, really, really cool. I liked it a lot. And it was just, it's the kind of thing that doesn't require any like complicated writing or like weird idea. It was just, I thought, a really cool thing to put there. And it made me think a lot about what I had just done for like 10 hours or however long my playthrough was. And like made me think about the ways that you could look at it and be like, oh, this number was like exactly the world average, but this one was like way lower and this one was way higher. And what does that imply about the way that I played the game versus the way that in aggregate people played this game? And I liked it a lot. I thought it was really cool for a game that's all about its systems and that is intended to be replayable. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it seems like a game with very expressive and focused mechanics, like maybe Dishonored or something. Like that would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, right.
Granted, a lot fewer of the things that you do in a game like that can be quantified with stats in quite the way that XCOM, because XCOM is like, you know, it's the baseball of its
exactly
thing,
right.
Know?
That's what I was thinking of
like
when I was playing.
Everything that you're doing has a very statistically quantifiable outcome, and you can just define everything by that. Yeah, that's cool. But all the same, I mean, like the Thief gave you stats like knockouts while airborne, and hell yes, did that definitely give you some. I don't know, just kind of make you reflect on your playstyle and also just encourage you to do different stuff.
Right, and the ones in XCOM are less that kind of thing, like trick shot kind of things. Because they reflect like aggregate play style over a very long period of time, not individual achievement style things where it's like pulled off a crazy thing. It's like
it's just
over the course of, which was interesting because it made me realize, it just made me think about the total cumulative effect of kind of general ways to play, not specific things like nonviolence and Dishonored, which is like you achieved it or you didn't, but things like realizing about halfway through the game, I got really concerned about not kind of triggering the kind of semi-linear story moments quickly enough. I mean, they're linear, but like, there are things that can happen at different points depending on how quickly you achieve certain goals. And like, if you achieve this thing now, you'll trigger a thing earlier. And I remember because in my classic playthrough, I got really worried because I thought, oh man, am I playing this too patiently and like letting too much time elapse before unlocking these things. So in my normal playthrough, I got really concerned about that. So I just really front loaded things, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to capture this alien now. I'm going to stun this guy. Like I'm going to research this thing, and my total number of missions played was like 2/3 of the average. Like it was, I played way fewer games over before completing the game than the average person did, and it wasn't any one point at which I could have made that decision. It was just the total cumulative effect over many, 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 many turns that resulted in a weird compressed playthrough that was just a little bit shaved off here and there and there and there. It was stuff like that's the kind of thing it made me think about, which I thought was interesting because that's the kind of decision that is totally invisible most of the time. Like if you just played through this game, maybe the game could tell you, oh, it took you 50 missions or whatever, but that doesn't mean it. Like, okay, I guess it took me 50 missions. Like what? That doesn't mean anything to me. It's like those statistics Nintendo always releases in their press releases where they're like, we sold 4 million units in the first weekend. That means that every 3 seconds, someone on Earth was buying a Wii. Yeah. And that doesn't like. I have no way to put that in any context.
I've never heard any statistic that's phrased like that. Like every 4 seconds,
Nintendo does that all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. Maybe not now because they're not selling as many.
But also for
like,
for just things like, for things like crime statistics and things like that, it's always just I don't know. It's not nearly I don't know. It's
right. But anyway, whatever. I liked having the context.
Yeah.
To kind of frame my play style.
It sounds like that stuff would be a really good fit for Civ too.
Mm-hmm, totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because
it's probably one of those things that once they've done it and it's been successful, they just kind of have it in the back end in the engine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Because it's also useful things for them to be able to look at.
Absolutely. It's interesting data for them for sure.
Yeah. We started doing that on Walking Dead.
Yeah. Right.
Like we track a ton of shit.
You kind of get that at the end of The Walking Dead too.
Absolutely. I have kind of mixed feelings about that when something that's less mechanical and so much more emotionally.
It really does. For sure. It's a bit of a gray area.
It's because
it's cool on our end because I can just go to somebody like there's an end spoiler at the end of an episode in Walking Dead. You can be with a mixed crew, and so I just went into the data and was like, how many people actually like what percentage of players have this
makeup
conglomerate of people?
But then we can also dig through and find why, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is cool. On my end.
Absolutely. That's really interesting.
So what do you do with that kind of data? If you're doing it in something that's not just like a mechanical objective thing, because presumably, your XCOM's designers can use that to be like, okay, well, we'd really like more people to see this kind of thing, but I don't know. Even that's like sort of that's a subjective. Goal,
in The Walking Dead, the stuff that we put up at the end of it is mostly supposed to be the parts of the game that we expect someone to discuss the reasons behind their decision. Like it's not. It's in The Walking Dead. It's
you as designers
for us. Right. Well, for me, it's like it's more. We work super fast. So every time you're doing something, it's really important to be asking yourself, am I being the most valuable I can be on the project at this exact minute? And you have to ask yourself that every single hour of every single day, or you'll just never get a good game made. So I'll go in and I'll be like, okay, the player is with Ben and Kenny. How many of those, what percentage of the players who are with Ben and Kenny got there because of this? They made these choices. And then if it's like, wow, like 80% of people, it's like, I'm going to really, really make that special. Like it's just sort of like, where am I going to put my energy? But at the same time, like there's one conglomerate that's like 6%. And I put a lot of love into that 6%.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing, right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just sort of like it's just nice to know. It's just sort of interesting, and you use that information. You can totally be a douche and then be said like, well, only 6% of players are going to see this, so I'm not going to make it. Like you can do that, which is bullshit, or you can just sort of let it feed, or just sort of have it in the back of your brain about I don't know. Like you have to know your audience, and I think especially when you're writing, is this going to be, or like, is this what the mass audience is going to see, and this is what the sort of niche audience is going to see, and you can kind of like fiddle with your tone. You can be a little more specific. Like
that's interesting from a writer's perspective, because so many authors would say they would never. I suspect a lot of writers writing like a book, for example, which is different because you could never have data that fine. But a lot of authors would probably say, I would never want to know that. Because I wouldn't want to be worrying about it.
It is a thing you actually don't want to know.
If I could unring the bell a little bit, there's part of me that would love to go all the way back and just not know. But at the same time, it was sort of energizing, to be perfectly honest, to know that like the minority crew, there was a crew that there's like only like 4% of players or 5% of players were with this one group. And it was like when I was really tired and like, how good am I going to do this? Like God, I've already written this 9 different times for 9 different groups. Like, how good is this going to be? And it was sort of energizing to be like, this is for those guys. Yeah, exactly. You know, and like, I mean, honestly, I'd be lying if I said that.
Did you do any like focus testing, like A/B testing on whether to call them Ben and Kenny or Ken and Benny?
Funny you should say that.
Really?
No, we didn't do that. But the problem is we found ourselves naming characters with an E at the end. Like, at one point we had Lee, Lily, Carly,
Larry, Kenny. And then we had a couple others. We're like, no, we changed them. But we got into a weird... Danny and Andy.
That's funny because my mom and my dad explicitly chose my brother's name and my name, Christopher and Alexander, specifically so that they could not be corrupted into an E name. Like, no one's ever tried to call me Chrissy. It's never stuck. Yeah, I know. Every time I say this, someone gets that look, but it just whatever. Like, it's not really like an interesting nickname. Like, and so like Alexi, I guess, like no one ever does that. So like, my parents, I remember telling me at one point, they deliberately did that because they didn't want a kid with that name, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know how that happened. It was like all of a sudden, once we got aware of that was happening, it was like different names. And it just kept getting more narrow. And
we didn't notice it when Kenny's name was Frank, and then when we had to rename him, and you were like, "How about Kenny?" We're like, okay. Oh my god! And it was like the piece that dropped in Tetris that then created the line disappeared, and we went, and it was just a bunch of Y's behind where all those tiles were, and we flipped out. But it's too late because we'd already recorded all the voice.
Wait, there are lie tiles in Tetris?
No, a Y.
Oh.
It was the suffix of the sound of all of the names was revealed as the line wiped away, and then I cried.
Yep. But the stats thing, I mean,
in Walking Dead for me, it's more just an item of interest. I don't feel like we've ever actually redesigned content because of it or anything. We just sort of go, oh, weird. People did a thing. Like it's.
But also, like the one other thing is you want to make sure that somebody did the thing that you're tailoring your shit to. Like, did anybody actually do this out of
Right.
And,
well, see, that's I mean, but that's kind of I think maybe what you're talking about, Chris, is like a writer would just say, well, even if nobody understands this illusion, like say you're one of those authors who just writes something incredibly dense and that makes these references that just go super far back into, obscure,
like classical,
poetry
and so on.
Do you not do that because nobody would get it?
I think Sean was being more practical. I think it was literally like, did literally 0 players go down this path? And then is that actually because we've worked ourselves into a logical hole where it was impossible, but then we'd be supporting it for the rest of the season?
Right. Like somebody's going to have to build a thing that
did we accidentally gate things in such a way that just a third of this one scene never?
But also, other people in the future. Conversation. But
wait, what were you going to say about the future? Hold
on. Other people in the future might, but like the statistics are just a snapshot of everybody that's played the game up to that point, right?
Right.
And so you might make a combination that, like, if it's not logically possible, obviously you should just exclude it from your design and QA matrix. But like,
try that when you're working on like it's just like when you're sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Well, whereas I don't know, like somebody in the future might make a certain combination of decisions that will mean that there's
for sure. Like on the day that the 4th episode came out, there was one large chunk of the game that was just reporting 0, 0, 0, and we were just sitting there going, oh my god, did we just like fuck a third of this game? And then finally it changed to a 1 and everyone just went
I just imagine that.
Okay, we actually shipped content.
Like mission control.
Yeah. It was the crappy version of that because it's
important to point out that there's no way to make decisions in the game where you're not going to get really tailored content. But when you only have such limited time to produce the specific chunks of content and to just conceive of them, those stats do you sort of they matter, but not for the reasons you would think. Not because only 5% of people are going to see this. Fuck them. It's more like, wait, I don't know. And I also think this is going to get into weird territory, but it is important to know your audience as a game designer. It's different than writing a book. It's completely different.
How so? Like, because I'd probably agree with several different.
If I treated working at somebody else's studio where I've been hired to do a job for a specific audience, the same way I treated going home and writing a novel, I'd be very bad at my job.
That's not inherently video games, though. That's specifically being employed at a company.
Right. And that's kind of what I mean. I mean in commercial game development with...
Yeah.
And
commercial work.
Commercial
work
generally.
Yeah. And I mean...
Because there are people who are employed to write, like, a Star Wars book who probably are given directives that they have to achieve. Or something. I don't know. I'm sure there are equivalents to that Don't, if you like Star Wars books and that's not true, I don't care to hear about it. But
Timothy Zahn is going to write us a mean email.
But I'm sure there are, branches in books where people have those same pressures.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And if you've been with a stringent editor for a long time and you're one of those people who puts out a mystery novel every 9 months, I'm sure of
whom there are many.
Right. When you show up and you're like, oh no, here's my esoteric journey into 17th century
poetry. Well, that's when you add a
and,
middle initial to your name and have it published under a different imprint of the publisher.
But I also don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think
I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
I think you can make you can tell quality stories inside whatever. I mean, we make licensed games, for fuck's sake. You can tell a meaningful story there that means something to somebody if you just focus on doing that. And also serving all the other masters you have, which is a license holder, which is, the fact that it's a video game needs to be sold. The fact that, this is the target audience. You have to know all that stuff, but it doesn't mean, I don't think that stuff necessarily means you shouldn't tell a good story. Yeah.
Unless you don't give a shit.
It's not going to be on mic. It's just going to be us laughing over silence.
Oh, sorry.
Jake made a funny noise.
Jake made kind of a bit of a fart sound with a water bottle.
Yeah, that's good. You guys missed out on that.
You played a video game that you said you wanted. What was it?
Frog Fractions.
Oh yeah, Frog
This took over.
Frog Fractions.
This took over the internet for about 48 hours, a week and a half ago.
Sorry, Frog Fractions does command the Edwin voice like few things do. Frog Fractions. God, Frog
Fractions. In the.
Is it actually math?
No, and this is a point of discussion. Okay, so. Yeah, are we gonna talk spoilers about it, or
I don't think we should.
Yeah, okay, so
you don't want to spoil the Frog Fractions.
It takes so little. All right,
it's like the game is nothing but spoilers.
Right.
Okay.
So suffice it to
what type of game is it?
Spoilers.
Right. So
how do I get it?
I'll talk about
search for Frog Fractions. Yeah. It's a web-based game. You can play it for free on the internet.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it's Flash. Yeah, you can just go to the guy's site.
Okay, how about this? We'll talk about Frog Fractions next week, and if you haven't played it, you're out of luck because it's free.
Yeah.
Cool.
So also spoilers next week.
Well, and I'll say this: if you start playing it and you're just like, okay, what is there to this? Just keep playing a little bit and
keep playing and try things.
Yeah, try things and and you'll get to it. Yeah.
Is it anything like The Visit that we talked about that? Because I feel like if you told the story of The Visit, you would give it all away.
Yeah, I would. There are similar things in the sense that
is it like achievement unlocked?
It has more. It has more to give away than The Visit, I would say.
Yeah, in volume certainly. In substance, maybe not, but in volume, absolutely.
Okay.
I think The Visit is a stronger work.
Wow.
All in all.
Lauds for The Visit.
I like The Visit a lot, though. I don't say that to diminish Frog Fractions.
Isn't it amazing how good that game is?
Have you played the updated version of The Visit where you can escape the courtroom by just leaping out of a window now? Sorry, spoiler. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's updated. It's better. There's a version.
They're looking at those metrics.
Yeah, there's The Visit's on Newgrounds now, and instead of just being on their Game Jam site. So yeah.
You know, the other thing I wanted to put out there potentially as a thing to for us to try and then get back to the readers about, and maybe this is pointless, but there was an article by the guy Christopher Livingston, the guy who he used to write some stuff for Shack News and some other places, not when I was there, but anyway, he was written for Rock Paper Shotgun and stuff, and he has a column called Sim Tuesdays or something, I don't know, where he plays a weird esoteric sim game and then writes about it. And he wrote about this game that I'm gonna have to find the actual name so I don't mess it up, but it's a game where you just play through someone's life from birth to death.
Oh, Life.
The game of life.
The board game, yeah.
No.
Oh.
And it was fascinating. In the article, he was born you don't get to choose where you're born, as you don't, as in life you don't. And he was born as a woman in India, or as a girl, newborn in India, who
born as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so fascinating because his character, this woman, just lives her whole life, has this shitty life, just that results just from the kind of roll of the dice from the situation she's born into. She has this shitty job that she has for years, in this canned goods factory. She looks up index of best places to live in the world finds out like Denmark is like #1 standard of living. So the guy playing as this woman decides like, all right, I'm going to save up all my money to go to Denmark, but it's like 1 million kroner or whatever it is to like do it legally. So he's like, well, I'm never going to have that much money, but you can try to do it illegally by like paying someone off for like 160,000. So he's like, oh, if I just work for like years to save up, and he does it, immediately gets deported, like is sent back to India, just has this horrible, like saves up from scratch again to try illegally again, makes it into Denmark, succeeds, like gets a job at a different food packing company there, like meets a guy, gets married at like age 50, which is like just an interesting thing, like, and gets divorced like 10 years later. Like it's just, or like maybe he dies. She gets syphilis from this guy for one thing. Like, it's just crazy. Like, or from, oh no, the syphilis was from India. Anyway, like it's just, it was unbelievable. Like reading this thing was just heart wrenching. Like it was crazy. And he at the end, he's like, he has a paragraph where he's kind of depressed about the way this woman's life, like the arc of her life. And then he kind of like has this, it's like the end of Cloud Atlas where it's got this like redemptive moment at the end. He's like, but maybe this life was not a waste. Like she always she spent all of her free time like on reading and enriching herself and like trying to rise above like the hand that was dealt to her in her life. And like she like, and like he ends on this very powerful story about like how this woman's life is actually quite
poignant.
Poignantly laudable, you know, and like it was, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this game? Like, what is this? I wanted, like, I think it'd be really interesting if we all played through a life in this and then shared our stories.
What is the name of it?
Okay, let me find it on the internet. I'm sure I did a really bad job of summarizing the specific details, but like in general,
she was actually the president of the United States.
How old is this?
The article is like a day old, but I don't know. Okay,
I don't even know. Because this feels.
I was wrapped.
Familiar.
You telling that entire story? I don't know how much time passed. I was wrapped.
God, it was just out of control.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I just saw this. It was like the first thing I read today.
When I play this game, I'm not getting syphilis.
Okay, I think it's a PC Gamer column, and it's called Simplicity or something.
First person who gets syphilis loses.
That's our like...
Yeah.
Just
our spot bet.
Okay, so the game is called Real Lives.
Yes.
Oh, you have heard of this?
Yes, I have.
Have you played it?
I can't
playing
remember.
it right now.
Well, yeah. Just trying not to get syphilis.
Real Lives 2010.
Yeah.
Is a truly unique content-rich
Is it one word?
and empathy-building real-world, real-life situation that challenges your life skills as you make difficult, high-stakes choices. I'm sorry, what, Jake?
Nothing.
Download the free Real Lives trial. So maybe you have to buy the full version. I don't know what the trial consists of.
This game sounds like it's worth a penny or two.
Yeah, no, it does. It sounds like
in the
it's worth
trial,
giving
you
people
always
money.
just die of a debilitating disease at 17. What?
It's really sad.
It's life. It's real life.
Gosh, the problem is there's probably some of the most intense moments of that game. Actually, I can imagine that one of the most intense moments of that game is the character creation scene, where you're just like, well, I know my odds are really, but oh god.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sierra Leone. Well, all right. Here we go.
Even just like, that's like bottom end of the spectrum. But even just sort of average dude in Nicaragua. You're like, oh fuck, okay, this is going to be a trip. Like, oof.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder how many downloads these people have gotten in the last day because of this. Because I'm sure it's a bump that is noticeable.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. God, good games writing, that's the thing, right? When it's good...
Oh, it's amazing when it's good.
It's tremendously good. Yeah.
You mean writing about games?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good game criticism.
Yeah, or just even more like I thought Rob's article
Zacny?
Rob Zacny of 3 Moves Ahead, his article on Homefront and Chaos Studios.
Oh, that was amazing. Well, that was reporting.
That was reporting. Yeah. But I mean,
that was fantastic.
That is you know. That stuff is so enjoyable. I mean, we've talked a million times about Nick's EVE Online writing, but that stuff is just, it hooks you, and then like an hour goes by and you've just devoured the entire long form thing. Oh, it's really great.
And also, like, I mean, Sean referred to it, but like just to make it explicit. Like, you should read Rob Zacny's reporting on the closure of Kaos Studios and the development of Homefront, because it's a really impressive piece of reporting.
It was a big feature on Polygon this week.
Yeah. It's got a bunch of people, to talk, anonymously in some cases and stuff like that.
Not anonymously, and
in other cases on
he
the
really
record.
did a good. Yeah, he really
did his
pounded
homework.
pavement on that. It was really great.
Yep.
And actually, remember we had drinks with him the night after he mentioned it really casually, and he seemed really tired. He's like, I just did this big thing on Chaos at Homefront. Oh man, I'm really just sort of, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. He's just lived through the life of someone who died of syphilis. So.
Yeah, and he was.
I mean,
well, he was also. It felt like sort of like self-conscious about it. Like, I don't know if it's going to be any good.
Well, also
because
there had been, like, Lee Alexander did a big thing on Chaos, which was also good, and like I think he was worried, like, someone got there first. But like, I thought his piece was totally.
Yeah.
Gosh, I read it. It's one of those things where I read it on a particularly hard day at work. Like, it's been just kind of hard days for a little bit now, and I read it on a particularly tough one, and it was almost impossible for me to finish. When you think about. Because he throws years around, like 2008, and then in 2009, in 2010. And you think about when you saw those Homefront ads all over San Francisco and the game was coming out. And just when you think about the scale of time that somebody puts into this game inside of this horrifically broken publisher system, it's as depressing as the Woman in India story to me. Just sort of your life. It's
not. I don't think there's a reason to conflate these.
It's not equally horrific in life experience. But it depresses me in the exact same way.
There's a human cost there that
a human cost of what does it all actually mean?
And being like,
sure, they go home to a nice house and they live in America, for fuck's sake, and like, it's not about comparing the suffering. It's about sort of how dreadful I feel when you just sort of think about a life being eroded away every day. Like, days as erosion as opposed to experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's why
it horrifies me.
That's why that piece is really important, and everybody who's doing investigative journalism like that is doing really important work right now, because the more it's exposed and the more, these jackasses who go in and ruin projects and then float away on a golden parachute, they're going to be the greater the sense that they're going to be held accountable for it in the future. And
what I think is so great about the article,
because the whole, like, part of the point of doing that is so that it will happen less in the future, and that there will be fewer home fronts.
Your jackass analogy? Sorry, my brain immediately modeled it inside of Just Cause 2.
Right? Yeah.
that guy just fucking.
You've unlocked half the town is smoldering.
Yeah.
And that guy just.
And then
you blow up a game development studio, and then you've unlocked the golden parachute.
Also, it's him getting extracted Batman style out of
Yeah. My brain just immediately put that inside of that engine.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of programmers run out of the building burning. It's like, see you later, guys. Ooh, look, a grapple hook.
I thought the article did such a good job of sourcing, like, of walking it all the way back to this is a system where your studio is going to get shut down, so you pitch for your life, you make a promise you can't fulfill, and then the publisher just cyclonically churns through you and your people until they really have shows the thing they can think they can sell.
Yeah, it shows like the anatomy of it, the systemic causes of it, in that The Wire kind of way, where you're just like, damn it.
Yeah,
this is just so.
The Wire's a good comparison of just sort of like, you can see the macro and the micro.
Yeah,
I thought he did a great job.
And reporting that shows you the macro and the micro of game development, and I don't know, I think that does work towards, like, making it real for people, for ordinary game players and stuff, because they're like, that sounds like a shitty job. I have a shitty job. I don't want those people to live like that too. And I don't know. It's just really good. It's a very positive.
This isn't my number one goal in life. Period. Is to get involved in this industry at any cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a significant percentage of people who are in the games industry are in it because at one point they were people who solely focused on that goal above any other potential aspiration.
You know what's funny? Is like,
and that's one of the reasons the industry is allowed to be that way, is because so many of the people it hires are there, like, absolutely. And so companies can afford to take advantage of them in ways they couldn't if many people weren't so single-mindedly focused on getting into that job.
Yeah.
It's funny, for a long time, because I feel like I've been, I don't know, a long time in my career, I felt like a fraud because I never wanted to be in the game industry.
I feel like a fraud every day.
It's okay, Chris.
Also, I was the same. I never.
It was never an intent. Like, I feel like the only thread through my entire life was like, oh, I really like to make cool stuff with people I like. Mm-hmm. And looking back now, like, I don't feel trapped by the game industry because I feel like you can make things in a lot of different mediums, and I think like they're awesome creative people to collaborate with, and not just games.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And it served me so much better than having just been like, I gotta get into this business. Like, it was just never. I just sort of kind of like kept working hard, and then games was the thing that opened the door that opened. So it fulfilled. It checked the box of, can I make a cool thing with good people? And so if it didn't, one day I would probably stop doing it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it served me a lot better than looking for a job in a particular industry or something like that. Yeah.
Although there are some jobs where you need to want, like,
oh yeah, like a doctor.
If you're but I mean, even on the
really
even
want to help
like
people
within game development.
Even within games, though, right?
Right.
If you want to be a programmer, game designers, specific as well. But like, if you want to be a programmer, like, you have to know you want to be a programmer. You might also be happy doing business software or something, but like, that's a huge gulf between programming on a creative work. That's
for some people, yeah. I mean, a
lot of people. There's creative challenges in programming. Not in anything,
right,
like, at all. But if you want the end result of the thing you're doing to be like a creative work of entertainment, then you have to really learn specific things and really, you have little choice but to target that thing pretty specifically if you want to be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess the point I was trying to make is, when you're setting out to make a career decision, having a broad window of sort of the things that will fulfill you, just philosophically,
for sure.
Good way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. It's crushing to think about the guy who just all he wanted to do is ever design levels. That's what he told himself.
What's wrong with that?
10 years. And then ended up at Homefront.
That part.
Yeah. Ended up on Homefront. You know what I mean? That's the part that's crushing. Where you're just sort of like, well, I told myself this is what I always wanted to do, and now I don't even know who I am anymore. Fucking horrifying. Anyway. Frog factions. Or factions?
Fractions.
Mm.
That's the Frog Factions is the multiplayer. Is the multiplayer expand alone.
This looks like Battletoads. Yeah. Got a lot of hard silences on this podcast, gentlemen. Jake is really tired. Chris is
I'm
really
the
warm.
cause of the cause of the hard silence.
Chris is very warm.
That's where the weird
I'm just
Jake
thinking about
non sequitur would be inserted in a typical cast.
Yeah.
You guys want to do some reader mail?
Oh yeah, we got a good reader mail this week, I think.
I got one.
Go ahead.
We'll do it last.
Thanks, Sean.
Whoa.
All right.
We'll do it after this one.
So here's one's really quick. We can do this very quickly.
Okay.
John Brooks writes, near the end of the October 17th episode, one of the Leftover Ruination cast questions asked how old my daughter was. She will be 13 this week. She had just turned 11 when I sent the original email. She's a big fan. This is the guy
You know her name?
No, he didn't
say
say,
hi?
which is probably good that he didn't. But
Hi.
hello.
13-year-old lady.
Yeah.
Baboo.
She said, we were listening together on the October 17th episode on the way back from a soccer tournament this past weekend. She was really excited when you guys mentioned her. We were both like surprised emoticon face at each other. That's awesome.
Your description is also good.
Well, I reached that point of the sentence, and then I realized it wasn't pronounceable in the normal way. So, this is what was the original email? It was about Horsebag or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It's always sort of mind-boggling when the readership base expands to include somebody's 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. That makes our day.
Yep. Hank Donne says, thumbs. I was wondering if you guys could talk about the people that work at studios but aren't directly working on games, like IT people, secretaries, etc. Do they still talk about the project, celebrate when it launches, cry when it fails, or are all the email and phones and desktop building outsourced? I ask because server administration is my jam. I don't want to write about games, write games, or manage a community, but the kid in me still wants to work at a game studio. Is it as cool as the picture my mind paints? Do such jobs even exist, if they ever did?
See our discussion of Chaos 4 minutes prior.
Yeah, don't get into games just to be in games.
No, but at the same time,
if your line of work is applicable to it, then. But I mean, certainly, studios do have a lot of on-site people. Like at Double Fine, we have office managers and
IT guys.
Like Double Fine's a great example, right? Like because you've been doing this job of whatever, server administration. There are places on this planet where you could do server administration and get paid more than working at a video game studio.
Right.
But there are video game studios that have a fantastic culture, which are really great to be a part of. Not all video game studios do, the same way not all businesses do. But definitely, I think, especially, I mean, at Telltale, it feels like everybody, like, our accountant is a woman who I was like the first person I ever met when my first day at Telltale. And she's always asking how the game's going. Like, she's really excited when it does well. You know, I think
the accountant's really excited when our game sells a lot. Sorry, I just thought that was a thing to point out as like,
but, you know, like,
it's cool. She gets excited when we sell a lot of copies.
That's awesome. Like, I can't tell you how great it is to have people at the studio who are just enthused by the work we're doing, because it's so tiring. It's just, you forget what's good about the thing you're working on, and to have somebody who's doing a job that's completely unrelated say, I like that thing, and I also know how hard you guys worked. It's really, really, really great. Our PR guy, Job, is like that, and obviously he's doing game PR, so he's closer to the actually playing the game all the time. But, like, that guy is the best dude. That guy is like, if you're having a bad day, you just ask him if he's played the game recently, and then you feel better about your day. And that's always, you have to have those people around.
Well, I think in a lot of studios, I mean, I would definitely say this about Double Fine. It doesn't even feel like it's like those guys appreciate what we're doing. It does feel like Double Fine as a company has just a strong identity as Double Fine, this entire group of people. Aside from what any one person's project is or specific role on this or that, it definitely feels like this is this big group of people that all works in the same building and kind of just.
Your culture is really different than ours, though. Like, we're on different floors. And I think that actually matters. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. It's how much physical separation is it?
Really
and
is
is it a big open pit and things like that? Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I've been in several studios, I guess, and seen it work in really different ways. And it's cool at Double Fine, because there's a whole bunch of different projects going on at once, and so there's a lot of people who aren't in the nitty gritty with you on a particular project, so they're not immersed in all the creative and technical decisions and stuff. And so, they're both a valuable source of feedback. We grabbed a whole bunch of people on other teams to help us playtest the cave and, just get a good first impression of stuff. And then also other times, people who didn't do that, they'll just play it at some point and just kind of gushing because they're seeing. This is the thing I always try to explain to people who don't work in on long form creative stuff. Like friends of mine who are journalists and they kind of ship something every day. That's completely alien to me. Shipping something every day or every week. But it's you experience all the cool things in the game, all the cool ideas that you have that are going to go in and going to be the big, structural parts of the thing that are cool. You experience everything cool about your game in dribs and drabs over the course of however long it takes to develop, which is often a year or more.
You also experience them once as the cool thing the day it comes online. And you're that is sick. Right. And then you live with it for a year.
Exactly. And you just, and you become completely inured to what's cool about it. You only see the broken parts of it. And even when it ships, you're just
Or you don't see the broken parts of it, and that's a problem because you need other people to point out the things that are actually broken.
That's very true, actually. Yeah,
the drive
you're worried about it being secretly flawed, even though you think it's good enough to ship.
Well, because you're so accustomed to dealing with workarounds and things you internalize about, that's just how this works. But then someone else plays it, and they're like, this doesn't make any sense at all.
You're talking about the drive-by, this is awesomeing that occurs when someone just has nothing to do with it.
And players are the exact same way. They experience all of those cool ideas that you had and all of the terrible ideas that you thought were good and every, that entire permutation matrix of good, bad ideas. They experience all of that in this incredibly concentrated burst. So it's got to be even more surreal for a team working on a huge open world game that takes 100 hours to play through because they spend 5 years on that. And then for some people, that's just a really crazy weekend of just staying up, of getting no sleep and just burning through Skyrim or whatever. And they're just, I don't know. It's
alternatively, someone who does play it for 100 hours but experiences every mechanic within the first 2 hours. And then the density of interaction just drops off a cliff, and then for 80 hours they're kind of just sauntering around and not really.
And even that's still just kind of a blip in the overall 3 or 4 years it took to make that thing.
Sure, that's any creative.
So
work.
They're getting all that huge dose of stuff all at once. And I don't know. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of stories to tell about it, and it's just like, I don't know. And that's whenever you're talking to somebody about like, somebody will be like, well, how's work going? And I'll be like, oh yeah, there's this thing, it could be, it could be good, or we're excited about this, we're worried about this. And then, I don't know, they just like, usually they don't really have even just a lens to appreciate that with, even if they're working on a different project.
Yeah.
Like you guys talk about stuff on Walking Dead, and then you play through it in like 2 or 3 hours, and then each episode, and then bam, I don't know.
Forget about
and like
it.
all those decisions. Well, all the decisions that you guys agonized over are just like, I don't know. You're only seeing the finished form of it. It's just
yeah, no, totally.
Well, I mean, I'd love to see the exploded view, all the
that's
warts and all
right?
that stuff.
Like you read an author interview and someone's like, yeah, I mean, I was listening to an interview with Paul Auster the other day, who wrote the New York trilogy, and like,
do you like the New York trilogy?
I have not read it.
Okay,
and he was saying like he is just an obsessive rewriter of sentences. Like he'll just rewrite a sentence again and again and again and again on paper. He doesn't use a typewriter or a computer. Like he long form writes everything and does all his editing on paper again and again and again. And someone reading that, like, they'll read that one sentence in a half a second and will never think about it twice. Right. And like, that's just how things are made.
That's the equivalent of blowing down the hallway that took, like a month of art time to decorate.
The thing is, though, if it's not well done, people are going to go like, "Oh, this sucks."
Exactly.
And like that's the thing.
It all does matter.
Yeah.
It totally matters.
Which is always the thing, Like,
well, some of those video game hallways, let's be honest, don't matter as much.
That's true. A lot of the nature of video games means, in some cases, like, those things don't matter as much, but it's hard to know which things are going to be the things that matter to a given player.
Yeah,
because
totally true.
It
drives me crazy because I'm such a person who's like, I know what people are going to like. And
not in video games.
Son of a bitch. Like that happens all.
Well, not in anything, I guess. But
authorship also just has a completely different role too, because you're authoring at levels of indirection. You're either tuning a procedural algorithm or tuning a patrol sequence, or writing a script, which is the most authory.
So I think in conclusion,
take that job.
One thing I will say, to tie it back to this guy's question, like one of the things that's true about Double Fine, and I assume about Telltale as well, is that people who, all right, so like JP and I worked on the Cave, and someone who isn't on the Cave team at Double Fine, whether they're like an engine programmer on a different game, or an artist on another game, or like an office manager, they're all people who are not working on the Cave every day. So like, regardless of whether their role is a core development discipline or like an administrative discipline or whatever, they still come to it with, for the most part, equally fresh eyes. So like, they're all still in the same boat. Like those people, with respect to the thing you're working on, those people are not in these different buckets, one of which is like real developer and one of which is not. Like, they're all still just other Double Fine people who are looking at your thing from...
They're all people who can show up and be like, hey, I thought this wasn't good, but it'd be cool if it was like this, and then save your goddamn level. Or your, you know what I mean? Like, anybody can do that.
Yeah. And a lot of times, people like, hopefully, people like that are hired for culture fit just as much as
I would say,
else.
especially like IT disciplines like that, are definitely there because they care about the thing. That was a good question.
Sean, you had a reader mail that you said was going to be next, but then Chris read that one instead.
He didn't say it was going to be next. He said it was
man,
at the end.
You're not up to date on when Sean's reader mail was supposed to be slotted in.
I only read one reader mail.
My sister,
he said
writes,
he was going to wait till the end.
And then he said he was going to be next.
Okay, whatever.
What Sean says he gets when it comes to reader mail order.
Oh, it's stupid now?
Yeah,
what?
It's stupid.
Wow. Do my own podcast. It's my sister.
No, I want you to read it because I want to hear how stupid it is.
My sister really seriously wrote in.
I'm just kidding. Your sister's great, I assume.
She's okay. She's good. She's a good one. She got a new cat and needs a name. Anybody got ideas? That's literally her reader mail.
What? That's seriously her reader mail?
She texted it.
JeffBlum. Wizard. I don't know.
GoldCat JeffBlum is up there.
GoldCat.
It kind of sounds like Bobcat Goldthwait.
GoldCat JeffBlum, colon, wizard, colon, and Idle Thumb's cat.
These are all options. If we underwrite her cat
ruiners.
JP Sniper.
Also an option.
These aren't
bad.
I lobby for
these
that.
Are better. These are up there with the quality of the name of her previous cat.
JP Sniper.
Yeah, that's my
brand of
pitch
vanity
for JP.
Okay.
soups.
All right. I'll pass those along. I'll pass those along to her.
Vanity soups. That's another suggestion.
Vanity, vanity soups.
Vanity soup.
Also, just soups.
John Lithgow had a vanity soup, right?
V Soups Vanaman would be that cat's name.
Vanity Soups
Vanity
Vanaman.
Soups
Year
Vanaman.
2012.
Shine, why isn't your nickname Soups Vanaman?
You guys missed your window. I was on a podcast for 4.5 minutes before you nicknamed me.
We fucked it up by not
You
calling
weren't even on the podcast before we nicknamed
Oh, you're right. You nicknamed me in the
you.
Marriott lobby.
Before we ever recorded the podcast with you.
Marriott lobby.
It was I was nicknamed in the Marriott lobby.
Yeah. During GDC.
During GDC, yeah. By a couple of assholes.
Soups Vanaman. Way better.
These guys. Soups.
If I played the trombone, you could call me
Our
Soups.
buddy Soups.
Our buddy
Yeah,
Soups.
that is definitely a jazz.
Yeah, sorry, I was confusing with Patrick
That's a
Klepek.
jazz moniker.
Oh, yeah.
Soups.
Yeah. Pianists and bassists can be named after pastries. Soups, you're talking more, winds.
Brass.
Yeah. All right. Established.
Maybe another reader mail.
Like Soups Malone.
Yeah, sick trombonist.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually Tom Bones Malone.
Actually,
the Blues Brothers.
He was very sick. He died of dysentery. Yeah.
So this is a reader mail that's not a question but rather an observation. So it'll go quickly. But I thought it was.
Suck.
It seems relevant given
I've
like
observed.
multiple discussions we've had on this week's cast. So this is Ornithophobe writes. While listening to your lament on Dishonored's lack of a kill count, I was suddenly reminded of my playthrough of Alpha Protocol. In addition to an up-to-date kill count...
Sorry, definitely heard that as Alf Protocol and was really stoked.
As did I. Yeah.
I ate like 9 cats.
Conversation options. Hey, Willie.
Sorry.
All right.
Anyway,
Alpha Protocol.
Alpha Protocol. In addition to an up-to-date kill count, Alpha Protocol also featured an orphans made count, something which terrified me into trying to perform a non-lethal playthrough. I was on 0 kills and doing very well with alerts and alarms until a mission later in the game where I found also super alerts and alarms, SNES follow-up, until a mission later in the game where I found myself in a position where there was a guard overlooking an area I could not sneak through. Maneuvering myself to a position opposite, I found a worryingly convenient sniper rifle. I had to make an awkward decision on what to do. At this point in the game, the guards were working for an organization that was definitely up to no good, so I decided this guy was probably not a family man. I took aim and went for the shot. I immediately jumped out to the menu. 6 kids. Needless to say, I did not kill anyone else in this game.
I knew that was going to just be...
Yeah, it was the only way that story could go.
The basketball team worth
Nice.
kids. Who is that?
Ornithophobe.
Birds.
Oh, here, Greg Brown has an email about Rob
I don't know who that
Zacny's
is.
Chaos Studios piece. You son of a bitch.
I've never heard that guy's name before.
This is our official reader of reader mail. He says, "Hi guys, reading the Rob Zacny piece.
Not even this guy's like casual. Like he
What?
Hey, Chris.
gotten too casual
Everyone
with
says
us.
hi guys. That's what everyone says.
I'm just kidding, Greg. We love you,
What should he say? What is your proposed salutation?
gentlemen. Comma.
All right. He says,
me.
Whoa,
Greg Brown.
he's got to present himself to the Lord.
Greg Brown writes, Gentlemen, reading the Rob Zacny piece on Kaos Studios and Homefront, it seems that this is sort of inevitable for any studio taking on large multi-year projects as a single giant unit. Yeah, I do. There's no opportunity to play around with different leadership styles or ways of organizing. Valve Software seems to be at the opposite end with survival of the fittest for game ideas. But do you feel Telltale and Double Fine are stronger organizations for juggling multiple projects at once and encouraging experimentation like Double Fine's Amnesia Fortnite? Has being exposed to different environments through your careers helped you at all as game developers? Thanks, Greg Brown.
Yes.
Fantastic.
No. Yes.
Battery
no.
of questions.
Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of implied a lot. We sort of implied answers to
Yeah,
that stuff already.
It's
The one thing I would say is
I would say
multiple
yes
experiences
to
is
all of his
good.
questions pretty
I worked
much.
at a publisher, and then I worked on the dev side of a publisher, and all things that were inside that Chaos article hit very close to home.
Yeah.
Especially being on the publisher side, where you go home at 6, and then
Right.
the guys who were at the developer aren't. And then I had to go. Now I've been at a developer for so long. I look back and that stuff is really valuable. I think to see both sides of it, I think is really good.
Yeah.
Because it is sort of systemic. It is. It's like going to war. Like we're all over here and they're all over there, sort of thing. You're making decisions that affect people's lives, but they're so far away. I think that stuff is really intrinsic to the publisher model that doesn't really get talked about. Literally, just the physical space.
Yeah. I'm also kind of the opinion generally, and this is an opinion that I make, with obviously like a pretty limited total amount of experience in terms of like just breadth and volume, but like just knowing a lot of people who, having a lot of good friends at a lot of different kinds of studios, and like having experienced a couple different environments, and like just having, before that, reporting on this industry for years, like I'm kind of the opinion that software development in a like explicitly creative product just doesn't make sense past a certain size. Like I just don't think it scales. I think the way software is made, as opposed to the way like a film is made or a book is written or an album is recorded or something, the way software is made, the way an interactive piece of software is made, I really do not think it scales up past a certain size of development team and length of budget, and like length of time. I think
without
it's just
becoming completely without what I think I know what you're going to say.
Collapsing under its own weight or sabotaging itself or
becoming
going way over
incoherent.
Exactly. Like there are certain things that when you're dealing with like iteration and interactive systems and like all these realities of software architecture that are just insane past a certain number of people when you're trying. Like it's one thing if it's like OS development at a large company, and you have people clearly have figured out how to do large-scale enterprise software in a reasonable way.
Who write code that ends up in Windows, for instance.
But in a creative project where your goals are simultaneously all of these things that all software products have to do, but also like these very vague creative goals that require a lot of like iteration and trial and error and like kind of plunging out into the unknown, even in very well understood game genres, like even in game types that are really, really, really heavily understood, relatively speaking. You still get these just crazy problems of scale where things just do not mesh well.
Well, they have to make creative decisions that minimize risk, and like that seems like it's been the big achievement of the Assassin's Creed teams. Is that, they've basically been able to modularize things. It seems like, like all those games have little systems, that all
They're one of the only studios that can ship stuff like that regularly with the team. Like, but I think no one else is doing that.
But I think what they've gotten, they haven't solved the problem of large-scale game development. No. They've just figured out the kind of game that they can make with that structure.
Right.
And like, I don't think it's even necessarily a knock to them to say that like they're not going to, most kinds of games they're not going to be able to make with that structure, Yeah. And I think, the kind of team you have, the size and composition of team you have, like defines which swath of the medium of games you're going to be able to capture with that. And a lot of the thing about AAA games for like the last 5+ years has been that they have like increasingly kind of high-minded aspirations to like tell these big stories and, be about bigger things. But they're still locked into this system that was designed to just basically like use the best technology we have to throw a bunch of money at the screen and cause a whole bunch of shit blowing up to slam into people's eyeballs.
Well,
and
the issue is,
I think that like so you've got a machine that was built for one thing that's trying to do another, and it's always just going to be self-sabotaging.
I think it's more fundamental than that.
And that's why I think
it's actually like. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's why I think creative directors at these big studios who are in charge of these big projects are always these tragic figures, because it's like, well, yeah, you're putting like kind of a movie director type person up in front of all of this, in front of this crazy like half software engineering, half creative thing, half like art production thing, and it's just, I don't know, like it's just you're just rolling too many dice, and you're never going to get the result that you think, and that's not just going to go, like saying that it's all iterative doesn't make it go away. It's just it just becomes incoherent.
It's impossible beyond a certain scale as a human being, as a single human being, to communicate what it takes to communicate to another human being.
Yeah, totally.
To get something made cohesively.
Yeah.
Beyond at that
like
scale.
When it's creative software, right? Like
exactly.
With a frame of a movie, you can. That's such a more concrete goal.
Well, also just the hierarchy of director, assistant director. It's just this. It's literally above the line, below the line, and everybody. It's like the military. Everybody
in games, like everybody's touching all the things. That touch all the other things.
Yeah, game development has a lot more.
In games, everybody's touching all the things.
But yeah, I mean, Jake and I mean, we
touch all the things.
But like, I don't know, how big is your team on the cave?
It has varied, but about 20 people on average.
Max, right? Yeah, like it. It hasn't gotten too much higher than 20.
It's a good size.
Yeah.
And then at other points it was like really more around 10.
Because we went from a team of 4 on the game right before Walking Dead to a team of 70 at this point.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
Because Poker Night, the game that we did before, was
you, me, Tully, and Nick.
Oh, I thought you meant Walking Dead went from 4.
Oh, well, Walking Dead went from the 2 to 7. It went from the 2 of us for about 6 months or something, or like 2 of us and 2 programmers. But like,
and that's the pre-production.
But it gets to the point where you have all these people, and can they get the job done? Yes. But especially on a creative piece of software, a cohesive finish is what's going to make it quality or not.
Yeah.
And cohesive is going to come from clear communication and word I'm looking for, just consistent communication. And there is not enough hours in the day
you also
to literally
eventually
communicate with everybody.
You also eventually just get enough humans, enough unique human beings that all of those people are also thinking, feeling human beings who have their own desires.
Another good thing,
and eventually something
they've been
like,
given creative decisions to make, and so they're going to be chewing away at that, and it's not necessarily going to be what you as like a project lead or something are going to.
Yeah, I think just enough
how do you resolve
space
that
comes out that
Well, also like you start taking things for granted because everybody knows how to you finally worked with your lead programmer to figure out how to implement this one aspect of the game, but the nature of software development means that thing could be programmed and implemented a million different ways by a million different people. So then when you get to the next guy and you're like, oh, hey, we're going to do this thing with the dialogue system here. Yeah. And he goes, oh, I did it. And you're like, it's completely, none of it works with what we have. It's drawing the wrong UI. Like, what did you do? He's like, oh, I'm like, we already have a system for that. This guy built it. And he's like, oh, I just wrote my own. You get into this, that's what happens, because of the nature of software development. You don't have oh, I'm lighting this movie and I brought my own lights and there just happen to be lights that nobody's ever seen before from a different, these lights, you know what I mean? It's just so, there's all these, the level of infinite derivations, I think, is sort of insane in
but
software.
Even a situation, though, where people are doing things the right way, you still have people just it's tough to introduce somebody to a large code base or something.
Right.
Even if they weren't making just the wrong decision about, we already have middleware to do this or whatever. It's still just a very complicated thing to introduce.
Yeah. And also, it sucks being the guy who tells somebody you just spent 9 hours building this effect because it was on a list somewhere and nobody told you not to do it. Oh, God, that sucks.
Definitely, yeah.
That is the worst.
That gets into the production thing, where some parts of the team need to be these guns that just start pounding away on stuff, as soon as they get the word go. Yeah. And other parts are well, no, we're actually running around in the weeds here, trying to figure out all these creative problems that we can't really prescribe solutions at this point. Yeah, yeah. There's that thing about human social brains being calibrated for groups of 200, and then over that it just becomes that's just the faceless mass of people. Whereas I can keep about 200 something people in my social horizon, and I can remember their names and their faces and things about them and all that kind of stuff. And I think that stuff, a lot of the limitations of game development and of large scale creative work those are just human limitations.
Oh yeah,
our social intelligence is calibrated for certain
but also
sizes of groups of people.
The people at your work though have to share that brain space with all the other people in your life. Though.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not you get another free 200 just for your job.
What if your job becomes your life? What if those things? Yeah.
What if you never go home? What if you work at Chaos?
Right. Exactly. And that's actually not invalid. It's not hard. It's not hard in this industry to get into a situation where those are the only people really you're seeing.
What was Gray's question again?
I think we're basically answering it. It was a number of questions, but it was basically
the thesis is, good job, Steve, making a game with three people.
Yeah. Oh, and he also said, do you think companies like Double Fine and Telltale are better organizations for juggling multiple projects at once and doing stuff like Amnesia Fortnite?
Sure. Especially you guys.
I definitely think yes.
Jesus,
by a million percent.
Well, right,
yes.
because I think that actually has a direct knock-on effect. I one of my goals coming to Double Fine was never work on a team as large as BioShock and stuff again.
Yeah.
I think Telltale is at its best when it has a couple projects of very different size going on concurrently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really cool thing about working at that studio.
Well, and it's cool at Double Fine because very similar to what you just said. There's the Cave, which is probably has spanned at times up to maybe 30 people, 20-something people.
Yeah.
And as you say, also has gone down to about a dozen at times. But that's the biggest project at the studio by far. And the Kickstarter game is about a dozen people, for example. Mm-hmm. And then there's iOS games that are just one or two people in some cases. And there's another game that's I would say about half a dozen right now, but will scale up eventually. I mean, there's an amazing range of project sizes at the studio, which is really, really cool. At any given moment, something's in prototype, something's in pre-production, something's in full production, something's closing. It's an awesome thing to be able to see. It means that people, when they're done with a given project, or even when the project's not shipping, when their particular role is ending. Like if they're just doing production art and content is complete, they can just directly roll off into something else in a totally different state. And like, that's awesome.
Definitely gives you a bit of perspective too, because you're like, oh yeah, not every game takes 2 years to make. Some of them only take 6 months to make, or, and it's good.
Yep. It's cool.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Guy.
Hey, Greg Brown. He's a name. It's a good one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was too familiar, Sean.
No, he was being too familiar with us. We can be very familiar with him. We can be very familiar with Greg Brown.
Familiar.
Come see us, Greg.
What?
Here.
We'll come to you when you least expect.
Oh, yeah. Come visit San Francisco.
Live show from Chicago. No, he's in North Carolina now.
Video game. This is taking an interesting turn.
Bye.
Video game.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
Video games.
Don't put that on the podcast.
I'm not putting any of this on the
know.
podcast.
You know how things sometimes. If there was just like
Not
11
those
minutes
things.
of silence and then just.
Like at the end, yeah.
Just like just as a fragment.
God, that would be the worst.
Oh, I'd quit. I would quit Idle Thumbs.
Shut it down.
Yeah, we're just 404 for the rest of time. We should just quit our lives. After.
The internet. I know where the Internet Archive is. It's over in the Richmond, so we could also
blow that place
also
up.
break it.
It's on Funston and Clement. I know where that is.
Well,
Break
Here
it.
goes my embarrassing GeoCities from the late 90s. Sweet.
Yeah, why doesn't everybody break in over there?
Finally, that 15-year lawsuit over that MIDI of the Axel F theme can rest now that you've destroyed the
that
evidence.
building is rad, though. I like that
Beverly Hills
building is
Cop.
also their logo. I lived there on the block from there for a long
That's
time.
right, yeah. It's the archive. It's the actual archive.
I thought their logo was just them being goofily classy of just the Internet Archive with the stupid
the columns.
and tablets are bullshit, and then it's just that's their building.
Yeah, you walk in and there's a butler with white gloves and a silver platter,
Which he opens up and there's just an @ symbol
It's just
underneath.
Yeah.
God, if he opened it up,
I thought the implication was the silver platter was a CD.
oh no.
Oh.
Well, he pulls the dinner revealer away to reveal that he is just holding a laser disc.
I guarantee. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a GIF though. I thought he was going to pull that thing up and there was just going to be a 3D
cat running
blue
into a wall.
spinning at mark inside.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I was referring to the wrong era of GIFs on the internet.
No, the good part. The Internet Archive only has the letter that writes
The
itself
spinning
over and over
E,
again and spinning
or the
E.
world
with
an E in
Under
it.
construction guy putting his back into it.
Under construction
Maybe a
guy.
skull with flames rotating around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you got the spider skull dangling from a thread. You got the skull that comes out of smoke and dissipates.
Neon green wireframe skull.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Classic.
Top shelf.
That one
skull.
reminds me of Steve. I don't know.
Recall?
Yeah,
It's normally used
neon green wireframe skull. If I was in some sort of psychology test, and they were a bunny rabbit, I would say a hound or something. Neon green
neon skull.
Steve Gaynor.
It's really a Rorschach blot, because different people see that, they're gonna.
Some of them are going to think
talk about
Steve
the
Gaynor. Some
Steve
of them are
they
going to
know.
think Scoops. It's all kinds of different interpretations of that green skull.
Do you think Steve's going to put double XP weekend in Gone Home?
Oh God, I
Absolutely.
hope so. What am I going to do with all these fucking Doritos?
Well, I am definitely going to walk around that house and collect Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Why don't they just say, get your double XP, your doo-doo? They should just call it your doo-doo.
They probably should.
They should.
Yeah.
Get that doo-doo.
Wait another 10 years for us to interpolate towards the Idiocracy universe a little
Right,
bit more.
yeah.
I don't think you're going to have to wait 10 years.
The fact that they've already given up spelling the word mountain,
Yeah.
it's already just
Right.
Is it just...
It's
It's
an
MT and Dew.
None of that
They put an
two-syllable
N in there?
bullshit.
MTN.
Yeah, it's not Mount Dew.
Climb Mount Dew with Mountain Doo Doo. They go in a weird direction with the new marketing campaign.
this is off. This is...
Get your double XP.
Oh, this is off topic. This is
Journalistic ethics.